because I learned that making a man a goal and making marriage a goal didn't solve your problem. Yeah, I don't believe in impressing a man at all. Be yourself. Out of all the men you may meet, ladies, maybe 3% are real, true potential life partners and spouses. They looked at me like, I will wife you right now. Right. And it does not take men long to see that in you, but you don't even hold a standard for marriage. You don't even hold a standard for commitment. You don't even know how to ask for that, show up for that, and hold that in order to be able to have it. You're not asking for what you really want, because that is what a lot of women tend to do. They don't hold the man accountable in the relationship to work on himself and his issues. You're trying to heal it all. You're trying to fix it all. A man has to stand on his own 2 feet. No matter what you've got going on, a man has to stand on his own 2 feet. Getting married, committing too fast and getting married, we're bypassing all of that getting to know each other. Yeah. And then you're getting to know each other in marriage.
Right.
You have to allow a man to work through that initial lust phase to get into the emotional interest and spiritual and mental connection. 10 years of unhappy marriage, 10 years of incompatibility, 10 years of trying to make something work with someone when you're not on the same page. Divorce carries a heavy stigma. No one gets married ever expecting to get divorced. Due diligence before you commit your life to a man, because it is your life.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. This is episode 7 of the intimacy series. We took a break, but we are back and better than ever. I'm so excited to bring you guys my fairy god aunt, the Lynn Pope, to grace this channel and share her wisdom. Today we are talking about becoming a wife. So much of the time we focus on finding a husband or what we want in a husband, but we don't spend as much time focusing on how we can become what we are looking for, become a wife. That's what we're talking about in today's episode. Please sit back, take notes, stay focused, because Rebecca dropped a lot of gems for us today. All right, let's get straight into it. So guys, I am so excited to have the one and the only Rebecca Lynn Pope on my channel. This has definitely been a long time coming. And I reached out to her and she was very gracious to bless us with her presence today. So I'm so excited to have you, Rebecca. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Good. I literally found you through the Roommates podcast, the first interview you did, which was like, 3-4 years ago?
Yes.
The first one.
Yeah.
So I found you through there, and I feel like you're like the internet's auntie. And I kind of like to say I'm the internet's big sis. I feel like Stefan Speaks and Tony Gaskins are big brothers. R.C. Blakes is like the father. I'm not sure who the mother is yet.
No, I don't want to be mom. I'll be honest.
Yeah. So I'm so excited to have you on the channel, and you're someone that I look up to because you're very intuitive. You're very deep. Like, I listen to you all the time, basically. I listen to you all the time, and I just get my life every time I listen to you, whether you're talking about relationships, you're talking about inner healing, whatever you're talking about, there's so much depth. And I can just tell that you're coming from a place of wisdom and also experience as well. Yeah. So today we're going to be basically talking about becoming a wife. And this is my first video back. I've been on a month hiatus from social media, and I've been kind of thinking and reflecting, like, where do I want to take my channel? And I kind of want to start, aiming for something. So I think becoming a wife is a fitting title for today's video. And as you are a wife as well, and someone that is happily married, because that is very important as well, not just being married, but being happily married. I thought you'd be the right. I feel like you're the best person to talk about this. So if I can ask, basically also congratulations on 100K.
Thank you.
You just reached 100K.
On YouTube.
Yes, congratulations. Well done. I know it's not easy. It's not easy putting in the work at all. And you're consistent, everything. Like you upload more than me. You upload a lot.
Years.
Yeah. So congratulations. But I want to ask you from the beginning, if you can kind of take us through your story as it pertains to relationships, even if you can go from, childhood, how that was and how that influenced your concept of relationships, your love life, etc., etc., and then to the present day of being married now.
Sure. So I come from a large family in the States from Ohio, from the Midwest. And the Midwest is known for like core family values, Breeny, like meat and potatoes, like in my family, my aunts and uncles, my mother's brothers and sisters were married like 50 and 60 years. So I have these very long-term examples of very solid marriages, partnerships, families. My uncles, most of them were entrepreneurs in construction and real estate, and they built large businesses, very successful businessmen. Their wives were more like partners in their businesses and supportive. So I grew up with these examples, and they mostly married very young. Back in the day, everyone got married, 20, 19, 18, 19, 20, and stayed married for 50, 60 years, right? Like never got divorced. And I would say that definitely influenced me to think that you can just pick someone and get married and you're going to be married forever and it's happily ever after. Some, fairy tale in my head of how easy that should be. So just like my family. And then my father was a minister. So I come from church, Christian church background. And, of course, no dating. There, old school, I'm coming still from that generation of you marry, you don't have sex before marriage, you just get married, you're going to stay married and you work it out inside of marriage. So according to, that upbringing and that early conditioning and programming, I married at 19, had my child at 19. That I literally had it like practically annulled 6 months later. It was a mess.
What year was that?
That was, honey. My oldest son was born in 1990. Wait, what am I thinking? 2000. No, he's 28. You do the math, baby. I don't know.
20.
My oldest son is 28.
We're 22 now. So 22 take away
1994.
Okay, right.
Child, 1994. Married his father. Didn't even last a year. It like when I say God had to get me out of that thing, it was bad. Like,
how long did you date before actually getting married then?
He was my first real boyfriend. Met him like my senior year of high school. Dated him for my freshman year of college and was, really should have broken up and not even stayed together. But pressure from family, like, oh, you're having sex. You have a boyfriend. You're having sex. You need to get married. Like pressure.
Yeah.
Got pregnant, and then it's, oh, you're for sure getting married. You're pregnant. So we got married.
So you were pregnant before you were married?
Yes. Right. Got pregnant in college, pressured to get married, got married. 6 months later, I was like, no, ma'am. This is not it. It was a train wreck.
Wow.
So got out of that with my baby and that started, single mom.
But how old was you at this point?
19.
So divorced with one child at 19.
Divorce. Yeah. Wasn't even 20 before the divorce was already finalized and everything.
Wow.
And my father had a church, preacher's kid. This was like shame, Breeny. Like you having a baby out of wedlock, getting married and divorced was like, oh, it's bad.
Double sinner.
Yes, it's all bad. And I turned around, met a young man that was a friend of the family from my dad's friends had a son. We met each other. We began to date. To make a long story short, less than a year and a half later, I was married again.
Ooh.
And pressure, once again, dating.
Yeah.
I think sometimes young people your age, my son's age, young people, we forget that it wasn't that long ago that standards were very different. Society's standards for what was acceptable and what was not acceptable was very different.
Yeah.
From a moral, spiritual, religious perspective, things were much more strict, and there was a lot of pressure for perfectionism,
Yeah.
to get it right, to not look bad.
Right.
And we started dating, and then here's the pressure again to just get married, not allowed to date at all. That was unacceptable because dating wasn't biblical, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So we give into that pressure. We'd only been dating maybe 8 months, and we got married. And once again, it was a train wreck. 1 month into the marriage, all these problems were happening, all kinds of issues like were popping in the first month. And and of course, hindsight is 2020, right? When I look back and I tell everybody this, if I would have only dated him another 30 to 60 to 90 days, I would have never married him.
Right.
Because just in the timing of dating, you learn and getting to know somebody, and it's like, we're not compatible. This isn't good. Getting married, committing too fast and getting married, we're bypassing all of that, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And then you're getting to know each other in marriage.
Right. And it's too late.
Too late. You're already committed. Breeny, to make a long story short, I stayed in that marriage for 10 years, had 2 more sons, knew it from the first month that things were not right. Things were not good. I remember calling my mom like the first 30 days we were married, and I was like, Mom, this isn't right. Like, he's not ready for this. We were so young. I mean, we're so young and dumb. I mean, at this point, I'm still only like 21, not even 21 yet.
Yeah.
So, it was a mess. We stayed together for 10 years, 2 more children. I have 3 sons. They're all grown now, thank God. And, but 10 years of unhappy marriage, 10 years of incompatibility, 10 years of trying to make something work with someone when you're not on the same page, you don't have the same foundational values, no common goals, no common outlook, perspective. We didn't even have a common foundation of faith. It was a mess, Breeny.
So did you stay in it because of the shame of the first marriage ending?
I think as if I, 20 years later, I would say processing it all, it's the pressure to not fail again.
Yeah.
A lot of people stay in situations trying to prove to themselves and others that they can make it work. Divorce carries a heavy stigma.
Yeah.
No one gets married ever expecting to get divorced. Nobody. You may have gotten married naively. You may have not, done your due diligence. People get married all the time, not really taking it serious enough. But once you're in it, you never, ever have gotten married like, oh, I can just get divorced if I'm not happy. Nobody thinks like that. Nobody.
Right.
So definitely stayed in 10 years, pressure, family pressure, church, just my moral compass and trying to get it right. Counseling, I was trying everything in that marriage to make it work. Counseling and help and mentoring and reading books, you name it. I was trying to figure out how to make it work. And, it takes 2 people to make anything work. You can't be in it by yourself. You just can't. And finally, after 10 years, I gave up. I was like, nice for what? I'm out. I can't do this anymore. I'm not happy. And it was really hard. Divorce is really, really, really hard.
Yeah. What was the final straw of you saying like, I can't do this another 10 years or forever?
To be honest, Breeny, it was business goals. I had some major opportunities that I was in construction. My first business I ever owned was a construction company, construction supply company that I started after I got divorced. But there was these opportunities that were coming along inside of that industry for me and a chance to go start a business. with someone else, and my ex-husband was not supportive. And it was the kind of opportunities where you're talking about a lot of money, Breeny. It
Yeah.
was like, you know, the difference between working for a corporation and making $130,000 a year versus going into an opportunity that I could have made 600,000 the first year. Like
Right.
that kind of, in like very certain type of business that I had a lot of experience in, and he wasn't supportive. And I learned something about myself in that scenario. I learned that if you don't support my dreams, because I am a big dreamer and I'm a go-getter girl, right? Like I big dreams, big ambitions. And if you don't support that, it is like you're a dream killer to me. And it's like love will go out the window.
Right.
That just killed it for me. Like I could tolerate a lot of things, but it was like when you're holding me back from doing something that's in my heart that I'm so excited about and
Purpose.
passionate. Yes.
Yeah.
It was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't sit here and be miserable in a corporate job because that's what makes him comfortable, or, you know, he's comfortable with our lifestyle and that dependable income and doesn't want me to venture out and do some other things. Like, I was like, nah, we are not compatible. That was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Wow. So you filed for divorce. Obviously, that whole process is probably something that we can probably unpack a little bit later for those people that do watch me that have or are going through a divorce. Because like you said, it's not.
It was horrible. It was horrible. One of the things I say is as a really good sign of how miserable I was in the marriage, because I went through hell. We separated first. It was a divorce. He became very vengeful, very antagonistic, even terroristic. He began to terrorize me. He began to break into my home, steal money. He began to do all kinds. He just lost his mind. I tell people my ex-husband's cheese slid off his cracker. Like he just lost it for a while.
That's
and
when you told him that you wanted a divorce. After that, okay,
all hell broke loose.
because he didn't want a divorce.
He did not want a divorce. He was miserable, but you know, there are people and personality types, and depending on people's issues and their trauma, depending on people's issues, people would rather prefer to stay in the misery they know than to venture out into the unknown. He was not happy either, but he would have never divorced me. He would have stayed miserable and held on to what he knows. And yeah, he would have never made any changes. And because I was the one saying, listen, you know, this isn't working. We have to at some point admit that we're not happy. We need to, you know, go our separate ways. He just could not accept that. And he was very, very vengeful and very, like I say, antagonistic. And we went through several years. There was a domestic violence situation. He pushed me down a flight of stairs. It got really ugly, Breeny.
Wow.
Really. And what I will say is I never regretted leaving him, no matter what. It was bad. I mean, really bad. I lost everything. I lost all of my financial investments. I ended up being bankrupt. I lost all my rental property, all my savings, my credit, everything was, it was horrible. Wow. It was like 3 to 5 years of just horrible. But I still never regretted leaving from the simple perspective that I had my personal happiness, that I had peace. That I finally had peace. I don't, you know, even moving into an apartment with my children and, you know, downsizing and losing all the financial material gains, you know, it was like, I didn't care. I was like, I have peace of mind. I'm so happy.
Freedom. You know? The price of freedom.
You know, the price of freedom. Never regretted it.
Wow. And I think it's interesting, like you said before, that men, they can be unhappy, but they're not going to leave. And then there's this, people use a statistic that says, oh, more women file for divorce, which I can understand, because if a woman's not happy, she's not happy. She's not going to stay for what? Like for what reason? And so I think when people say, oh, well, women file more often, it's because, we're not afraid to leave.
And We now have the financial independence to not be financially dependent on men, because one of the reasons, if we're really honest, that there have been such long-term marriages with our ancestors, with our, parents, great, was because women didn't have, they couldn't go anywhere. It's not that all of our grandmothers, and I'm not saying all of them were miserable, I'm not saying that, but I do know that there's a lot of examples of, our previous generations where they didn't even sleep in the same bed anymore. They didn't even sleep in the same room anymore.
That was my grandma and my granddad.
Stand each other, but yet you're not divorcing, right? And you're staying for the sake of finances, kids, whatever. But I think more than anything, it's sometimes my ex later said to me, he said that when we got married, he knew that he wasn't ready. And he knew that if he did not kind of like get me while he could, that he was never going to get the opportunity again. And so so there's an element in that that's manipulative, right? Yes. It's kind of like, let me hold on to you while I've got you. And I know I'm not ready to be anything you need me to be. And I know I'm not ready to step up, and I'm not at a maturity level to be able to handle all of this yet. I'm going to commit, but now we've got all these issues and problems over your immaturity and your issues that you're not ready to deal with.
Right.
Wanted me. It's like, it's ego.
Yes. And I feel like when I hear, because I've been watching a lot of interviews with married couples, and I mean, it's supposed to give you hope, but sometimes it's like, oh my Lord, this was what we're gonna have to put up? But it's like, there are some men that feel like, I just want this woman, and it's selfish. It's not because I love her and I want to serve her and I want to be a good husband. Is what can I get from this person? And that's so scary to know that you're with someone. Obviously, you didn't know at the time, but then to hear later that you were basically pursued for him, for
the ego and self-satisfaction of, I got her.
Right.
I got her. And then to be in the relationship, because in those 10 years, where the breakdown really came in, because especially women of faith, spiritual women have deep levels of hope. A thing called hope, where I don't care if it's that little tiny glimmer of hope that you think it could change, it could get better. Well, maybe if we do this, we'll read this book, we'll go to this counseling. Well, I was trying everything because I didn't want to be divorced. And like the writing, it was so obvious the writing was on the wall, but I just would not give up. And even though that divorce rate, where it's like 70% of marriages or divorces are filed by women, but don't think that women do that. Like the majority of women
easily
are not flippant, like, oh, whatever, I'm not happy, I'm happy here. That is not the majority of women. It's when you have been begging and pleading and trying to get what you need out of this relationship, a woman has to completely lose hope that it can be what she's dreamed it could be, or hoping it could be in this relationship. The ex would not go to therapy for himself over his personal issues. He would not work on the personality issues and the dynamic in the marriage. He was selfish. It was just, everything was about him. And when you're a very kind and loving woman, I think that a lot of the time we also are too easy. Enable a lot of that selfish behavior because we do too much, we help too much, we give too much. And he just thinks he's the king of the castle without having really done a whole lot to even participate in that process, right? It's like, you're the king, but really, what are you doing to be the king? What are you really working on holding this family together in order for you to be respected and loved and esteemed by your family? And then just think because they have a penis that I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm the man. Right. Like, what are you doing as exemplary behavior of leadership?
Yeah. And I guess the church doesn't help to push that narrative of, submit to your husband, the husband's head of the house. And I think the church gives such responsibility on the wife. I was talking to my friend yesterday and I was talking about Proverbs 31, how it isn't even written to women, yet women jump on that scripture. How can I be more, do more, and be this, when it's actually written to the son, to what to look for in the wife? And I think most of the scriptures is written to men. But for some reason,
written by men for men.
But in the church, it's preached to women as if we have the bigger responsibility. And even if we think about Ephesians, where it tells women to submit to their husbands, the man has a bigger responsibility because love your wife like Christ loved the church. But why is the submission pushed more to women without the love for the wife like Christ loved the church?
Because men are leading the teaching. So of course, men are going to guide the teaching to not be their core responsibility. It is on the women. And because the audience is women.
Right.
In the States, Breeny, like almost if you are an African American woman, it is almost a 90% chance that you're Christian.
Yes.
The same can't be said for men, for Black men.
Right.
Like the churches are full of women, not men. So guess what? The instructions are given to women because that's who's sitting in the pews. That's who the audience is.
Right.
They struggle to really, in the States, they really struggle to bring men in large, quantity as far as the demographics of church attendance and church participation. So it's women who are the students per se, right? And so they're selling and teaching based on a female audience. Well, you can't be teaching women what men are supposed to do.
Yeah.
So you got to teach in other words, you're giving instruction and rules to women because there's no men to teach. They're not showing up for that. Men are doing whatever they want to do. And that's one of the things I've said for a long time with all of this education and coaching and courses and books and all this stuff for women. But where are all of these men who are supposed to be stepping up to show up for these women? Where are all the men who are being, raised and equipped to be good husbands and good fathers in our communities? It's like there is a huge void. All these women doing all this work, but where are the men doing that?
Right. Then what is the solution in that? Do women just stop elevating? Like, do we just stop trying to be better?
I think number one, women have to stop idolizing marriage.
Yes.
That's one. Take marriage off of this pedestal, like being a wife is this badge of honor and like a box that you're checking in your success life goals.
Yes.
Women subconsciously have wife or marriage as these life goals. And reality is men do some men dream of being husbands and fathers? Yes. But do a lot of those men settle down way younger and because it's in their heart to be that? Right. They're not these guys that are out here single at 35 and 40 plus. They settled down a long time ago because their heart, they want to be a father and a husband.
Yeah.
So a lot of what's going on in the single world with men is that, they're not raised to say, oh, I want to be with one woman. All the propaganda, all of the societal programming and conditioning is to be a man, is to be almost like a whore. Yes. Be a hoe, right? Get as many women as you can. I'm a man. He's knocking them down left and right, right? Like that's the whole like society that says that's who men are, be a man. Like he's just being a man. Well, that doesn't go hand in hand with home and hearth. That doesn't go hand in hand with marriage and being monogamous, and so there's a whole other message in programming for men. While little girls are playing with baby dolls and playing family and pretending to be moms growing up, playing with Barbies and dolls, boys are playing with trucks and blocks and learning to be productive because they want to go and make money.
So again, what do we do? Because if that's the message to them, like you said, women, we have this thing called hope. And a lot of the time, because I do talk about relationships on this channel, and I'm always hopeful because at the end of everything, I'm always like, the man that you're looking for is out there. And some start to question me like, well, how do you know? How can you be so sure?
By faith.
Right.
Faith. So here's what I will say. First of all, the only men who matter are the men who fall in love with you. All the other men you meet who are not, even if they're lukewarm interested in you, they don't matter, because they're not going to marry you. They're not going to commit to you. They're not into you. They're not interested. Men fall in love by accident. Like they have no intention. They're just kicking it with their homeboys, chasing their money, doing all this. And then they just meet this girl, this young woman out of nowhere. Like, oh my God, wait a minute. Whoa, I'm catching feelings. Oh my God, wait a minute. And they're telling their homeboys, oh my God, she might be the one, dog. Dog, don't do it. They fall in love by accident. Like, they don't even intend to do this. So all you can do as a woman is, when you find yourself on the receiving end of the attention, love, and adoration of a man, because you're it for him. This is all that matters. You're the it girl to him. He is chasing you down. He is like on it. In that situation now, you have to set standards for marriage and standards for commitment, because that's what you're going to get that from the man who's really, really into you. The biggest mistake you can make is a man's really, really into you, but you don't even hold a standard for marriage. You don't even hold a standard for commitment. You don't even know how to ask for that, show up for that, and hold that in order to be able to have it. You're not asking for what you really want. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All these other fun boys that you meet in between, waiting on that really special gent that's going to just be crazy about you, they don't even matter. They're never going to pop the question anyway. You can't make one of them want you or want to marry you. You're not the it girl to them. So after I got divorced that second time.
Yes. So this is where I actually wanted to go into. So yeah, continue.
I was done. When I say I was done, I was like, I don't care if I never get married again. It's just not for me. I am going to live my best life. I did it their way. I did it the church way. I listened to my parents. I was miserable. It sucked. I'm like, how you go in that completely opposite direction.
Yeah.
Honey, I started businesses. I chased money. I traveled. I mean, when I say I was living my best life, listen, I lived my best life. I did everything the opposite of what I had done up to that point. I'm like 30 years old, had already been married for a decade, 3 sons. I was like, oh no. Started a construction company, started making tons of money. Anyway, to make a long story short, I was single for like 9 years, and I dated and dated and dated. That's how I ended up becoming a love coach and a dating coach and a matchmaker and all, because I just started dating, and then my analytical brain, and I have a science background, right? So I'm applying this analytical scientific approach to analyzing men and dating. And so I'll say this to all the ladies who catch this. I'll say this. I went on hundreds of dates.
Hundreds. So from 30 to 39, you were...
But my husband I'm married to now, I met him when I was 38. So like, I was 29 when I got, so 9 years.
9 years.
Over 9 years, hundreds of dates. Hundreds. In that, so think of this almost like research, in service to my fellow woman. Right? I sat on dates, and I'm asking questions because I'm a naturally curious person. I would go on dates with men if I just enjoyed your vibe, if I felt I could talk to you. I'm a people person. I love conversation. I love listening to people. And all these dates, I would just, get to know men as a person, not like, is he the one? I wasn't on that vibe. I was on
you weren't looking for another husband at that point. You were just being yourself.
I was just having fun. I was just dating and getting to know people. I was managing a multi-million-dollar company that I had built, and I also had 3 sons. So dating and men, my mother had cancer, Breeny. Like, I was dealing with real life issues, right? Making money, supporting my family, taking care of my mother and father, my children, my son going off to college. I'm like dealing with a lot, like a man, like a lot of responsibilities. Dating and men were like 5th, 6th priority, right? Dating was this social outlet. It's what I was going to go do when I had downtime and I just wanted to kick back and have fun. Besides spending time with my girlfriends, I'm going to go on dates. Yeah. What I did. That's how I treated it. Because I didn't have a mission because I learned that making a man a goal and making marriage a goal didn't solve your problems. Okay. If anything, gives you more problems on this man and whatever issues he's got. Right. I had done that my whole young adult life. So I was like, oh, so fun. And this is the key, ladies. Men were crazy about me because I was so chill.
Yep.
Pretty, chill, fun, cool, right? Like I'm showing up like, oh yeah, it's so good to meet you. Let's have drinks, right? And just eating good, drinking good, having fun. And it's like, who is this beautiful lady who don't care about me? Like,
right.
Impressed or trying to impress me. And it's just, I mean, that's how I got so great at business. I dated businessmen. I would pick their brain. Harvard Business School graduates, Ivy League, you name it. I dated anyone that I was interested in that seemed like great conversation. I had a blast, but it accumulated into all this knowledge where it was like, wow, men are not complicated at all. They're really simple.
Right.
Like, if you make them feel good and you are their physical type,
you have to be their type first. Because you can make them feel good and do this stuff, but if you are not their cup of tea, what they really want to go after, then there's no point in breaking your back. Just chill out, go out in sweatpants.
So, ladies, I'll say this. In those hundreds of dates, there were only 3 men out of hundreds who were absolutely crazy about me. I mean, that were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You. I need you in my life. That were really like they looked at me as wife potential. Right. They looked at me like I will wife you right now. Right. And it does not take men long to see that in you. They know it. You do it for them. You're everything to them. And then it's a matter of, do you feel that way about them? So out of the 3, 1 is my current husband.
Right. Yeah.
Those I think are some realistic numbers.
Yeah.
I think out of all the men you may meet, ladies, maybe 3% are real, true potential life partners and spouses. And out of that 3%, one of them is the one you will like too.
Right. And I think women, we get very much like, we want everyone to like us. We want all the 100 to like us. And so I guess, were there times in your dating in your 30s whereby there was that one guy that you so badly, like you wanted him to like you and it just was not working?
I always remember him to this day. And he was like a really great guy. Of course, he was fine as hell.
Of course.
And he was super cool and he's a businessman and I love business. So it's like I always tended to lean towards businessmen because it was just such a prominent, interest. It was like great compatibility to me.
Yeah.
Not always to them, but to me, I loved it. And I went on a few dates with him and I liked him from day one. I mean, I just was really into him. And it took me a minute to come out of my ego fog where I'm assuming you like me.
Yeah. Because why not?
Don't you see
Sorry.
Be crazy about me. I mean, guys, I've got my vacation braids in, but you know what I'm saying. I was looking fly, fly. So by about the 4th date, Breeny, it was like, I started to notice in our communication and texting that he didn't have the same sense of urgency to see me. Now I know what it looks and feels like when a man is crazy about me, because we've all experienced that on some level where a man wants you, but even if you don't want them, you know how they act when they like you.
Yeah.
Now, you may not like them, but if a man's not acting like the bugaboo, he don't like you like that.
Yep.
Now, when you call him a bugaboo, it's just because you didn't like him.
Yep.
But that's the behavior you want from a man you like.
Yep.
Good morning, beautiful. Those text messages. He making plans 5 days in advance. He could be on the date with you tonight and making the plans for 2 days from now. I got tickets to this. You want to go to that? What are you doing this weekend? Oh, let's take a trip. Next month. They making plans. They trying to get you locked up. They don't want you available for nobody else. They trying to take you off the market.
Off the market, yeah.
They're strategic.
Yeah.
So by the 4th date, I just noticed that he did not have that energy about it. So on the 4th date, I remember I'm smart. Like, you know, I'm not, I think what's different is that I'm able to humble myself, because that's what saves you from heartbreak. If I witness you're not reciprocating and it's not mutual, what I'm giving and what I'm feeling, and I step back and can say, wait a minute. On the date, I was like, you dated, we had some people we knew in common, and I knew a lady he had dated previously. And I was like, you dated so-and-so. And he was like, yeah, you know, we talked about that. And I was like, yeah, and you mentioned your ex-wife. And I was like really smooth with it. Like, what does your ex-wife look like? Because I'm that girl who is like friendly and cool. So men just talk to me without their guard up.
Yeah, for sure.
So he pulled out his phone and showed me a picture of his ex-wife. And sure enough, her and the woman that he had dated that I knew about looked almost exactly alike.
Right.
And I did not look like them.
Right.
He had this type that was kind of like very high yellow, kind of like almost looking Latina with like straightish curly hair. One of them had kind of like, you know, the little like really, really high yellow with freckles kind of look.
Yes.
That's what these women look like.
Right.
Right. Like, and I was like, oh, you got a type. Because see, I took my ego and set it to the side. And I was talking to him as a friend. And I said, you have a type. And I said, this is your type. And he was like, oh, yeah. No. Like he caught on right mid-sentence, like, but no, I really like you. And I'm like, no, it's okay.
Nah, yeah.
Like, I don't do it for you like that.
Yeah.
This is your type. And that's cool. And that's just not me. I'm not it. I'm not your cup of tea. Yeah. Everyone's entitled to their preferences. And he was like, you could tell he was like, I done messed this up, because I'm not dumb. I'm not going to keep investing and dating you and you're not really into me and feeling me. And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Ladies, when you are more into a man than he's into you, you are in a dangerous situation that has the potential to tear down your self-esteem. It has the potential for you to lose yourself or try to prove yourself to someone to get him to like you the way you want. Walk away. I walked away. We were cool, but I was done.
What about when they do put in all that work and then like for a moment they like you way more than you like them, and all of a sudden now as you're getting to like them, now they're pulling away and now it feels like you're having to chase them, and you're like, wait, hold on, in the beginning.
So what I find that can happen is if you have sex too soon. You need to wait and allow a man to emotionally commit before you physically commit. Physical intimacy. It is important for his emotions and mental attachment to you to form before you have sex. So if you prematurely become sexually intimate, he now loses interest because he did not have emotional, spiritual, and mental commitment before the physical.
Even though he was into you,
he could have just been sexually turned on by you. He's lusting after you. There's an excitement that comes along hand in hand with new love interests. And men, a lot of that is sexual. A lot of that in that first 90 days for men is sexual. He wants to know what you look like naked. He wants to be inside you. He wants to be with you physically. Men are very sexually driven to conquer. It's a challenge. You have to allow a man to work through that initial lust phase to get into the emotional interest and spiritual and mental connection before you get in bed, or else it's just a bad situation. You're not going to get what you want out of it.
So what do men think when you give it up too soon?
I don't even know that it's always a conscious thought. Of course, some men are jerks, like, oh, got that, I'm done.
Yeah.
But it is a natural, subconscious, less interest because now he got what
he wanted.
drive of what he wanted. It's subconscious, ladies. Don't be thinking like this is how God made men. Don't look at men like they're just sex and they're just dogs and they're no, if you're gonna be mad at somebody, be mad at God because God made men like this. Their number one focus is the physical drive, physical sexual energy. It is your responsibility if you are being abstinent or celibate to keep that off the table. It is up to women to do that because men are not going to do it.
Right.
So it's if you've already gone there and he loses interest, there's nothing you can do because he wasn't emotionally committed to begin with.
Right. So I wanted to ask you because when you got married twice, you was clearly in a different mind frame than when you were dating. Like you were saying, you was a lot more chill, a lot more relaxed, you're cool. And I do know that I know so many women who they have so many men throwing themselves at them because they're acting like, oh yeah, it's just a date. Like they're so easygoing and cool. So we understand that. So how did you get from, or how was you before when you was trying to get married those 2 times? What was that energy like?
I was a kid, Breeny.
Yeah.
So I won't even say that I was trying to get married. I mean, at 18, 19, 20, I was in college, I was pressured into getting married. Marriage was not a mindset for me at that age.
Right.
It was something that was more like, oh, you got pregnant, you're getting married. Okay. Or you're dating, get married. I would not have gotten married at those ages without the religious and family influence and culture pressuring me to do that. I would have had my baby, but I wouldn't have gotten married.
So you would have continued just to date. If you were free to just date, you would have.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I definitely, when I look at my 20s and being married all of my 20s and then starting to date at 30, and I do understand that already having been married and having my children took that pressure off of me, right? When you're a young woman and you haven't been married yet and you don't have children, you feel this pressure to make it happen, like this by your biological clock, your age. And women also create these timelines in their head of when this should be happening according to your friend group and your family and culture. There's so much pressure on women to make it happen. And I love that it's starting to trend for everyone to wait longer. For everyone, it is definitely trending to wait until you're a little older to get married and have children. I love that because I feel that from a maturity perspective, you need to live your life and get some experience under your belt to know who you are in order to make a good choice in a life partner.
But then don't you feel like the older that you get, the more that I guess the higher your standards are? Because like I said, when I was watching the videos of the married couples, and most of them, they got married early. So they had to put up with a lot of stuff because they were both growing together. But I feel like once you become this woman that is so evolved and you know what you want and you know the red flags to look for and you know so much, it then makes it so difficult to then, I guess, quote unquote, settle or like just be happy with the person that comes to you. So as much as date, like there's kind of like ignorance is bliss. When you're younger, it's like, well, I guess.
Well, I will say this. I would rather a woman make a mature, knowledgeable, coherent, conscious decision of who she's committing to and what she's going to put up with and what she's going to deal with than to go into things blindly and naively unprepared, kind of like immaturely go in like, oh, we're getting married, we're 22. And you just think it's going to just be rainbows and unicorns. And now you're dealing with all types of things that you just were not prepared for. And so I'd much rather relationships be mature, responsible decisions where you've taken your time to really contemplate this and know that you're making the best decision you can make based on the data and information that you do have. Now, I will say that men hide. Our society creates men who are not honest. Why are men not honest? They're not honest because it is not manly and masculine to be sensitive and vulnerable and real and honest. They have got to show strength 100% of the time. And no human being is strong 100% of the time. So men are just taught to hide a lot. They're taught to cover up and wear a mask, and wives end up unpacking a lot of that inside of marriage. And women don't like that. They don't like when I say that, but it is the facts and the reality of marriage. It is a lot of the reason why wives lie so much. They don't tell the truth about what they are tolerating, what they've experienced, what they've gone through to still be married, to be in these marriages, and to hear what they've survived. Single women are like, oh, hell
no.
Wait a minute. Like, chick, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not to say that, all women are going to go through those things, but to say that the majority of men have not had a stitch of therapy. There's no unpacking of any issues, problems, feelings. And men have all of the same feelings that women have, the same spectrum of emotions and feelings in different ways. I'm not saying men feel everything just like women, but they have the same emotions. They have experiences, especially good men, big-hearted good men go through the same exact things that good women go through, all the rejection and all different types of issues, being mistreated and their kindness being taken for weakness and all of that. And so when you get a really good man, by the time you get inside of a marriage with him, he's got heartbreak, he's got pain, he's got some baggage.
Yeah.
To unpack. And that's part of being a wife. It's not just about a ring, y'all.
There's work to do.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Even in happy marriages, Breeny.
Yeah.
I consider my husband and I to be a happily married couple. We're both divorcees that found each other later in life. I love him to pieces. He is the greatest love of my life, but it has not come without major trials and tribulations and struggles and so much healing work and unpacking so much that I think the average person just quits. Current generations, the younger generations, my generation, your generation, we are not necessarily taught to hang in there. When the going gets tough, we're real quick to be like, oh, snap, this is BS. I'm out of here. You're pulling me down. Like, I can't deal with this. This is just not my best life. And this is God's, best for my life. I got to get out of here,
Right.
But marriage is, you go through maybe some of the worst years in order to get to the best years. There's a lot of processing that happens inside of marriage when you're merging two lives together. It's beautiful, but it's messy.
Yeah.
And that's why I say whoever you marry, you better really love them. Breeny, you got to be so in love, like, I mean, love, like, oh my God, I've never met a man like this before. He is amazing. Because when you encounter his skeletons and his demons, when you encounter the stuff that's not so pretty, the love has to outweigh, all the negative stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, deuces.
Yeah. We're going to get into that. But to end the relationship story,
yes,
you met your husband, Kerry Pope. I love you guys together. You guys bring me joy.
Thank you.
So how did you meet him?
So we met through Facebook. So just like I talked about in my love and dating book, guys, technology is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. 7 out of 10 people now meet through some form of technology. It's not old school. It's not your mama. It's not your auntie and them saying, oh, I met a man, or your friend introduced it. 7 out of 10 people are now meeting on the apps or on the social media or whatever. So the year I met him, I had made a new friend. She and I were started going to lunch and hanging out. We went to lunch and she's like, let's take a selfie. And she takes a picture. She posts it on her page on Facebook and tags me. And he sees the picture and is like, who is that? And once again, it girl, right? I did it for, he's immediately seeing me and saying, oh my God,
Who
right?
is that? Yeah.
Who is that? And he inboxes our common friend and says, who is that in that picture? And that's my friend Rebecca. Do you want to meet her? And he's like, no. And he said he later told me he just went through my whole profile on Facebook and was like looking at all my pictures and red carpet events because I've been a matchmaker in Atlanta already. I'm like doing a lot.
Yes.
He was just like, oh God, this woman, she probably dates ballers and is like, so high maintenance. I don't know. He was like really thrown off. Like, he later told me, and men don't admit these things. He was like, yeah, I think she's out of my league. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way. Like, he was like more of a simple guy, but like, just like, such a good man, like such just like the core values that we all want in a husband, ladies. Like he had all of that, and he's tall and handsome and sweet, and I'm like, and when he said that to me, I'm like, are you serious? Like, so sometimes men are ego. Like, men aren't intimidated. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Like at times they are, depending on the man.
Do you think most?
I think that the more glam you are as a woman,
Yeah.
the more done up, right? Our wigs and extensions and lashes and makeup and how we do. And the more done up we are, the more men are like,
Yeah.
But your average guy.
Right.
Your average guy.
But it's also the perception as well, because like you said, your husband went through your Facebook. He's already in his mind. Who is Rebecca? Like,
right, because I had pictures with celebrities, red carpet events, guys. And that was not his life,
right.
A hardworking guy. He was a pastor. It's like he wasn't celebrity like that, anything. So, but she's like, you want to talk to her? And he's like, no. And then he still asked for my number. He still talked to me, even though he was like, at first he was like, oh, he only told me later on, like practically after we married, that, he was intimidated or whatever. But like in the first conversation, he said, whoa, we had we both were preachers' kids. We both grew up in like holiness, Pentecostal upbringing, churches, strict.
Yeah.
So we just had so much. He got married really young, just like me. So there was no judgment. Like, oh, how many times have you been married? Oh,
right.
No, because we come from the same culture, the same upbringing, we understand, because he did the exact same
thing. Yeah.
Divorced young, kids, because we were pressured to make these very lifelong decisions that we were not ready to make. So it was like, this amazing connection from the very first conversation. We talked on a Tuesday, went on our first date that Friday, and we were married 16 months later.
How did you know?
I knew on the first date.
Did he know on the first date too?
No. Yeah. He was crazy about me, but he had a lot more pain. His divorce, the last divorce he had gone through, really put him through the ringer, and he was scared. It scared to fall in love again, scared to risk his heart like that again. I think
was he married twice too? Okay.
Yes. I had enough confidence for both of us though. Like I made up for his, his timidness, and kind of, he thought he was holding back, and he was all into me. I mean, he thinks he was holding back, but I knew he was different. I'm not going to say I knew for sure, like, oh, I'm going to marry him. Not on the first date, but I just knew, especially from being a matchmaker and a dating coach for so long, guys, I knew he was so different. Like there was
a good guy when you see one after you dated 100, you've had experiences for your clients, interviewing
men for my clients, talking, like I knew he was special. I knew there was something about him that was like, just even our common spiritual background and upbringing and all of that. I had not met anyone like that before. And so it was just, and then we were able to just talk. Like our first date was over 5 hours long.
Wow.
Because we just laughing and talking and talking and talking, and like we just look up and the time is just like gone by, and we from day one we just had that connection and like being best friends.
Yeah.
And that's really held us through some really, really tough times.
So was you attracted to your husband when you first met him? And
Yes.
and then when I say attraction, I mean you obviously have a type, as in what they do for job, what they look like, their height, etc. But I guess we all have a type. Was he your normal type?
No.
Right.
I had already begun to back away from having a type by the time I met him. I did a video called Ditch Your List, and it was all about kind of backing away from what you think you know what you need or what you want. It's like, it's also ego driven, that it's hard to decipher between spirit, Holy Spirit, and ego of what's really for you and what you need and what God would really have for you. Is it gets real screwy,
Right.
And so I began to really back away. And what's really, really funny, Breeny, is for years of being single, I said, I'll never marry a pastor. Never. I mean, like, God, you already know the desires of my heart. I ain't marrying no pastor, so don't even bring it. Like, I had an attitude about that thing. Like, God, you already know you ain't even going to do that to me, because that's not what I want. Like, I was that arrogant about it. And by the time I met Carrie, like that year before, I had sat that down. I had gotten humble enough to say, I really don't know what is best for me, in all honesty, because you can think you have all this figured out, but it's really all just based on the past. It's not based on the right now and the potential that God could have for you, and the limitlessness, of potential that you don't know, because until you experience something, you don't know what you need. All you're basing it on is what you didn't like, what didn't work, what you don't like, what you think you like, all this, data that you've compiled over time. And if you don't have a lot of dating experience, it's not even really a good data set, if we're really honest, because it's such a limited amount of information you're basing all these theories on, right?
Yeah.
And so I just got to the place where it was like, I have to stop acting as if there's not some special, sexy, amazing pastor that would be absolutely perfect for me, who wasn't like religious too much or judgmental, or you never know. And so I just started backing away from a lot of those things that my mouth, I think that we can be canceling out our blessings. We can be blocking our blessings, because our mouth, there's life and death in this tongue, right? So we have the power of pure potentiality, pure consciousness to be putting out. And if we're putting out blocks, if we're saying no, and I feel like the whole time my husband was a pastor, Breeny. And so all those years that I was like, oh, no pastors, no way, God, you already know, And I tell my friends, and I mean, I was so adamant. I would talk about it to my friends and anyone who was like, oh no, I'll never marry a pastor. Well, guess what? He couldn't come.
Did you date a pastor in those years to have such a negative?
I met one bishop, and he reinforced all the reasons I said I would never date a pastor, and I would just double down on it. I was like, nope, see, horrible. I'll never date a pastor again. I'll never marry a pastor. So yeah, he really helped to reinforce all those negative images I had of a pastor. And, I was really wanting to avoid my father. A lot of the time subconsciously, guys, as women, we're trying to avoid the negative aspects of our fathers, or the lack thereof, in subconscious ways. And I met a pastor that was completely opposite and different and amazing. And so when I say he wasn't my type, he wasn't that old type that I had let go of before. Physically handsome, definitely attracted to him physically, hard. I kissed him on our first date.
Ooh.
Well, like, what? Like, you did what? Like, he was a little nervous and shy, like he was. And I was like, he went to hug me. He walked me to my car. He went to hug me, and not like tongue kissing.
Yeah,
girl.
just just
don't get carried away here. I just put my arms around him, and like he went to hug me, and I just pecked him on his lips, like that. And his eyes got so big, Breeny, like, oh my God, this woman kissed me. Like, he couldn't believe it.
She likes me.
Right, she likes me. Exactly. He said I so shocked him when I did that, but I'm one of those ladies. It's kind of like, I'm going to let you know how I feel, and it won't be because you doubt. Let me put it that way. Like,
Right.
you mess up and I have to change my mind about liking you. Okay, I'm going to walk away. But if I am feeling you, you're going to know it. I'm
Right,
not
right, right,
putting myself out there because, hey,
right,
nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's like, you
right.
know that I really think you're amazing and that I think you're really special. Now, that could change tomorrow, but because men, it can change in the blink of an eye. How often have you dated someone and 2 weeks go by and it's amazing, and in the third week you find out something, you're like, deal breaker, I'm out. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, everything is dependent and it's all conditional, but I definitely knew he was special when I met him.
right. So then I guess at the time you were accomplished, beautiful, of course, I guess making a lot of money. I guess you in this day and age, you would have been like, I ain't settling. I've got this, I've got that, I've got this, I've got that. I only want to date basketball players. I want to date ballers, kind of thing. Like,
It's actually the opposite. My husband came in this very narrow window of time when things had gone to hell. Breeny, I'm just being honest. I'm just going to keep it 100.
yes,
My mom died. I got depressed. Uh, my money went to nothing. Like, I lost everything. Like, in depression and a cloud of grief, my life began to fall apart. And I didn't realize that I hadn't really done a lot of the deeper healing work I needed to do for my divorce. That divorce was very traumatic.
mm,
I was still carrying. I had a radio show in Atlanta, and I was drinking just to go on my radio show, Breeny. Like, my nerves were bad, anxiety. They didn't know I had like a thing like this, like for water, whatever, but it would be like vodka,
liquor.
juice. It was liquor in that cup. And I mean, I was drinking to medicate the pain,
Yeah,
to numb stuff that was going on inside of me. And God, the death of my mother kind of culminated in having to deal with it all. And I found myself kind of like rock bottom.
yeah,
And when I met Carrie, it was like a year coming out of that process. So I was revving back up,
right,
but not at the pinnacle the way
right.
I had been in the years previous to
So I
that.
guess you had been humbled, if we can use that word.
Yes, I was definitely a different person that year after my mother passed than I had been at any point up into that time.
Right. I mean, I understand when you are at a humbling place whereby all of your inhibitions and all your pride and your ego is basically like, okay, you can chill now. Because I do believe that a lot of women these days, especially women that are successful and accomplished and beautiful, have a lot of ego. And more time we're choosing men out of our ego and not out of our hearts and what we desire and what we need in a partner. And obviously on social media, there's this thing of like not wanting to settle. And I think when women talk about settling, they're always thinking financially. They're always thinking status as
Mhm.
opposed to settling in character. Because yeah, you won't settle in status or settle in money, but you'll settle in character where the guy's cheating or you have
Yeah.
no emotional stability. So
Or
what
verbal abuse, mental abuse,
yes, all of
financial
it,
abuse. I mean,
all of
there's
that.
all kinds of, new modern issues that, women are facing. And you're right. A lot of, when I say ditch the list, it's because the 99% of that list is ego projection. It's
Yeah,
that looking for validation for who you want to be, not just who you are. A lot of the time when I would analyze a client's request, when I was a matchmaker, a lot of this wouldn't even be who you currently are, if we're really 100%
it's
honest.
the who they want to be, the person or the person they think they are.
Exactly. But not necessarily realistically who you are. It's who you want to be and
How
who
do
you're
we
pretending to be.
How do we get like that? What happened to us? Because I've definitely experienced that myself, and I've had to take a humble pie a few times because I'm like, okay, and also having a social media presence like myself, to me, I get caught up in I'm Breeny Lee, right? I'm Breeny Lee, as in who people perceive me to be. And there's also a perception of who let's say my followers would expect me to be with. Exactly. And so I'm weighing all of that into thing, and I'm like, oh, I can't settle.
None of that has anything to do with love.
None
of it is the exact opposite of love, as a matter of fact, right? And so there's two things. Women have begun to date like men, but they've become masculine in their resume of attributes and success and achievements based on the kind of men we want to date.
Right.
We become the men we want to date.
Right.
And then in turn, we think, well, look at, you were leading with all these achievements and money and status and title and blah, 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 because that's what we like in men.
Yep.
But that's not what men date. That's what impresses women. It is not what impresses men. I've had male friends and interviewed men and listened to men for years, and it would always just blow my mind. When I first started really getting into love dating coaching and love coaching and matchmaking, I would meet lawyers and architects who were dating a waitress. Of course, she was drop dead gorgeous.
Of course.
Right? But there was a man, an attorney I knew, he was in love with a stripper. Literally in love. He could not, obviously he wasn't wifing her because he couldn't reconcile the conflict in his mind, but he was in love with her. He really was. And it was because physically she did it for him. Her personality, her intelligence, everything about her, just, he was in love with her essence, her soul, her spirit, and who she is, and of course how she looked. And men don't care about money. They don't care about degrees. They don't now, if you do it for him physically and you're really, that it girl to him, now all of that is like icing on the cake. It's like, oh, yes, she is successful too. And yes, she's so educated. And yes, she's so accomplished. But first, oh my gosh, she is so fine.
Right.
Like, that's the number one thing for men, because men have never had to date based on a woman's accomplishments. Look at throughout history for thousands of years. Women didn't come into marriages or relationships with financial, unless you were an heiress or your family had money and you were making a legacy, connection as families because you were, set up in order to create family connections for business and money. But that's not how men date. And so women are dating now. So this is what I say to women. As you are climbing these ladders and you're creating all of this success and status and all of this for yourself, the higher you go up that ladder, the more difficult dating and relationships become, because you are actually outpacing the average man. Like, of course, I have clips go viral when I talk to very highly successful women like yourself, Breeny, high profile women. It's like you're expected to date some baller or some, rich guy, or he's going to have, in your mind and in your followers' minds, you should be with whatever, right? But what are the percentage of men who fall into those categories, who are viable prospects for you, who you are actually do it for them? Yeah. And it's mutual that you want to be with them too. So it just starts to create this very lonely, you're backing yourself into this very lonely corner, right? Where it's like, you mean just a good man is not good enough for a woman like you? Because that's in essence what's happening as you start layering on, he's got to make this much money or make as much money as me or more. Well, the percentage of men making that kind of money or more, slim to none.
Yeah.
Who are single, heterosexual, and physically attractive, and who are attracted to you as well mutually. right? So you have to start trying to peel back some of that stuff, because none of that has anything to do with happiness and love. Like I say, boss chicks have to date very differently.
How should they date?
You should date like a man
They should date like a man.
who makes you happy. And do you enjoy his company? Does he contribute to your overall joy and happiness and fulfillment? Does he make your days better? Does he make you feel good? Do you feel more alive around him? The more you feel like that as a woman boss, as a woman creative, the more you're going to produce, the more money you're going to make, because you feel amazing. Incredible sex, companionship, best friend, and then push him to be his best, because you can get a good man who's smart. Kerry Pope makes more money now than he's ever made in his life, but that wasn't him when I met him, right? Like,
Was you making more money than him when you first met?
not at the time. Remember, I was at a
Okay.
low.
Right.
We're about even, or he was a little more than me, and then I went and revved back up and took back off. But you know, he recently just started another company. He started a transportation and limo service company. Like, he has ambition and drive and intelligence that he's able to do whatever he puts his mind to. And with the right woman guiding, pushing, supporting, oh my God, baby, oh my God, yes, you could do that too. You should do that too. You could do that too. And when you have all the love and support and a woman believing in you, they can go do, you know, even if they don't come from entrepreneurs or they don't come from that background, there's so much that they can accomplish as long as as long as you fall in love with an intelligent man with a good heart. He's all about the partnership.
Right.
But then competitiveness.
But then it's also on him, because we can, as boss chicks, can get with someone that is just a lovely person, that is, whatever. And we could be genuinely in love with them and not want them to change or just be happy with them. But then now it's also whether they're comfortable with being with someone that is like you, based on perception.
Yes.
And the male ego of wanting to, make more money than the woman, or be at higher status than a woman. So I feel like then it has its opposite, that, yeah, maybe I can date someone that makes less money than me, but can they feel comfortable? And I think that's been my experience, whereby I have been like, yeah, I don't really care about like money wise, as long as you can look after yourself, you can look after me, you can treat me. But then they may start feeling like competitive with me, because like you said, I'm basically the man, right? So men compete with men, right?
Yes.
So then now you're competing with me, and I'm like, why do I feel like that way? Now I feel like you're not supporting me to make me greater. Now you're trying to compete with me. And I think that's what then starts to happen. So then also the question is, if you had met Kerry before, I guess, we call it the humbling, would you have looked in his direction, and would he have looked in yours?
It's a good question. I think that I would, it's hard to remove life experiences to know who we would be without those life experiences. There's also a level of wisdom and maturity that comes as you get older. Your standards and expectations when you're younger are through the roof. I talk to younger women and they're like, he's got to be this, he's got to be that. And they're young, like, yeah, okay, you can still say, I want to meet a man who doesn't have any children because you're 23. Like, yeah, there's lots of men who don't have kids, but get to 40 and let's see what you're saying when you're saying, you don't want him to have had any children before. Like, that starts to have to change because of age and maturity. But I will say that I would have definitely been giving Kerry a chance. And it's because he's sexy as hell, like keeping it 100. We all this is something women don't like to talk about. The more good looking a man is, the more chances he gets.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this is the beauty of a boss chick being able to date a good man. It's easier to find a good man who's fine when you remove money and all of these other higher expectations, because it's harder to find all of that in one package, and they want you and you want them, right? It's harder to find that because that it guy with the money and the looks and the status and all that, everybody wants him.
Yeah.
When you find a good man who happens to be very good looking, right? Carrie did not know how fine he was.
Yeah. And that's the difference. We need men that don't know they're fine. It's the ones that know they're fine that have all of the women flocking to them.
Exactly. So guess what? Carrie lived in the suburbs, further out. He wasn't a city guy. Out in when I married him and I moved into his house and we moved out where he lived, I would go to Home Depot and Walmart and places, and ladies, literally these fine ass men with these little ugly wives. And like, I'm looking at these men. I've never been to the movies one night, and this man came out of the movies and he was holding his wife's hand. They looked like they had probably been married since they were in high school. You know what I mean? Like that kind of couple, probably in their early 40s. He looked like a movie star.
Yeah.
He was a white guy that was that fine.
Yeah.
He looked like a movie. And his wife was like average Annie, looked like she probably had 3 or 4 babies for him, a dumpy, like if you plop that man in the city,
right,
he'd have been a whole hoe.
Right.
Out in suburbs, small towns, you've got these really good looking men who are just hard. Their values, their morals, their core beliefs, their core values are family, God, hard work.
Yep. Yeah.
And they haven't been poisoned and subjected to all the city life stuff and all the
options.
All the options. Exactly. So there are really, really good men who are good looking, and they're just down to earth. They're humble guys. And so being almost 40 when I met Carrie, I would have definitely been paying attention to him because he was good looking.
Okay.
And that gets our attention, ladies. Like, we have to just be honest about that. Because if we're really honest about our greatest heartbreaks, it's always been at the hands of that really handsome guy that you kept giving chances to simply because he was so fine.
Yeah.
It's not that he had so much else going on for him. It was that he was so good looking.
Yeah.
So if you can find that good man who's fine, well, then you have incentive to work through money. You have incentive to work. I mean, we're still have that part of us as, our human nature, the animalistic nature of who we are, and attractiveness and chemistry and physical attraction, pheromones, all of that. I mean, when you're really into someone and you love looking at them and you love having sex with them, you love being with them, you have more incentive to work things out. You have more incentive. You don't just see people looking like your husband walking around every day. And if they are, they don't have the other characteristics and they don't love you.
Yeah.
So guess what? You're looking at your husband like, oh no, boo, you ain't going nowhere, right? We're gonna work this thing out because I ain't gonna go out here and just get another Carrie Pope.
Right.
Who's hardworking and loving, not a cheater, honest, loyal. I mean,
a unicorn.
The unicorn. And but here's the thing though, ladies, there's lots of good looking, good men. It's when you start layering in rich, because we forget, because of these social media streets being so deceptive, that somebody making 6 figures is a very low percentage of the population. That's not your average income. And we said, he needs to make 6 figures. He needs to who? Where are those men at? Like, that's not common. And so
why do we always feel like we're going to be the exception? Like, we're going to find that guy making 6 figures, 6-pack, 6 foot. Like, why do we feel like, is it because of the internet and the illusion of options?
That's exactly what it is. Because you go on Instagram and every guy you see that you're following is some fine dude who's making this money and living some lavish lifestyle. So it makes you feel like they're a dime a dozen. Like, that's just the average guy. You could meet one tomorrow. Oh yeah. No. And then does he want you? Right.
And you keep repeating that. And I understand why you keep repeating it, because we think and I said this to someone the other day, we think we have options. Like, let's say on my Instagram, over 200,000 people, 15% are men. I can think, I got the pick of the litter. First of all, does he want you? And second of all, do you want him? So it's not as easy as, oh, I know of this person or this person's in my proximity. It's also the question of, are you compatible and do they want you and do you want them?
There's lots of men who want to smash you, Breeny.
Yeah.
Dash and dash in a heartbeat. Oh yeah, I bagged that. I got Breeny Lee, right?
Right.
Like they'll do that in a heartbeat. But the man who wants to commit and marry you and put a ring on your finger and have babies and forever,
Forever.
that's rare. That's going to be a very special gent. And we have to be. Here's another secret about wives. And this is the thing about marriage and wives that your average single girl does not understand. For anyone who follows me on social media, and whenever I post Carrie Pope and you see him looking so fine in these pictures, ladies.
That was all you.
Boo. He was not ugly when I met him, but he didn't look like that.
Right.
Wives upgrade husbands.
Yeah.
It is inside of marriage. That is a woman's influence. I heard Will Smith say Jada still picks out all his clothes and will lay out what he's going to wear across the bed. Like, that is what we do as wives, ladies.
I've seen it.
I literally overhauled his entire closet, rebranded, remarketed, makeover. Like, Carrie got braces, he gets facials. I mean, like, guys, that is care of a loving woman in his life who loves him to peace and is like, oh baby, we got to get your teeth, you got to go get your skincare, you got to take care of yourself, like, that's a wife. That's what a wife does. And so 99% of the time, that's what I tell women all the time, your average man, he looks average without you.
Right.
It's with you that you're like, oh baby, you gaining some weight. We got to get you some fish and get you on this asparagus right here because we got to get that tummy back down. Right? You got to get in the gym. No, we're gonna get you these new clothes. You're gonna be looking GQ. That's women.
Right.
Any man who is naturally like that tends to be more of a prima donna. A man, he'll be in the mirror more than you. Guess what? It's not your good, hardworking, really, really good, hardworking men. Their top priorities are making money and taking care of their families, and children.
Real men.
Old school good men that women would consider good husbands and would want them to father their children. Their top priorities are God, family, kids. Being a hard-working, productive man. That's what a good man prides himself on. They ain't in the mirror. They ain't got time to be in. They all super fly and all looking good and smelling. Them are your gigolos. Them are the ones out here, guys, slanging it from the north, south, east, and the west.
Oh, Lord.
You're falling in love because he's fine. And he got 10 more just like you lined up dating all of y'all because he knows that he can. So women, it's like you don't like it, but it's like if it's clothes or aesthetics, you change that.
Why are women attracted to the feminine? Because to me, that's feminine. When I see guys, whether they got jewelry, like, you wearing more jewelry than me. You look prettier than me. Your clothes are nicer than mine. Like, that to me is feminine. But I've seen a lot of women, and I have to say this because it's not observation that I've seen, a lot of Black women like pretty men. Why?
It's not just Black women. White women love pretty men too, because everybody loves, all them pretty white boys and celebrities in Hollywood. But I think that it's cultural. Our society has made some major shifts that have created more feminine men in general. Like, what used to be considered masculinity was like a rough and tough kind of hard working man, like blue collar, get your hands dirty.
Right.
Stuff, like brawn, you got muscles to go fix the roof when it leaks, you're going to handle things and do things. And then with technology and just the slow evolution into I'll never forget, I had a boyfriend I was dating in that 9 years. I had dated this man, and my sink started leaking and flooding the kitchen. And I was like, oh my God. And he came in and he was like, what are you going to do? And
Oh, hell no.
I was like, you ain't even trying to troubleshoot this. You're not even trying to help me. He literally looked at me and said, what are you going to do?
Oh,
And it was flooding. The
oh,
kitchen was flooding. He's not even under there trying to. And that is it is, I think we have a lot of coddled men who, I don't know if it's all the single mothers. I don't know if it's that we just haven't had enough father masculine influence in men's lives. I don't know what it is.
yeah.
But you're right. We don't have these traditional roles anymore in relationships. Things have just kind of become more fluid. And if anything, ladies, that's what I would say is you need to be looking for more of that simple guy who's just got incredible work ethic, and he's smart, and he's loyal. And, faithful, loyal, hardworking men don't have time to be chasing skirts either. You ain't got to worry about him on the street chasing
Mm,
women. It's the pretty boys. It's the guys with low self-esteem who are looking for validation out here chasing women. One woman is not enough for them. They've got to,
mm-hmm.
feed that ego. So yeah, I haven't done any studies into the loss of masculinity, but I can't say from a scientific perspective, but I'll definitely say from what I can see with my own eyes, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think about hypergamy, and how should a woman, how can a woman go about dating someone that, let's say, makes more money than them, or dating down? How does a woman still remain feminine
Mhm.
whilst taking a masculine position, whether it's in her job or making more money than their partner? And I know this is a talking point on social media a lot, but I don't even think it's the making more money, because I don't need to know how much money you have in your account. But if I'm saying I'm going to Italy next week and you're saying to me I can't do it, to me, that's a lifestyle issue.
Mhm.
That's an incompatibility with lifestyle. And it's
Mhm.
either I say, okay, I'll wait until the end of the year to go to Italy, or I can't, this can't work.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
how should a woman deal with someone? How should a woman deal with quote unquote dating down?
So first of all, you have to compartmentalize. Your professional boss chick image does not have any place in your relationship. You've got to drop that at the door with your husband, your boyfriend, whatever. No place for it. So with my husband, I revert to feminine. I revert over to take care of me, which means what? He's going to pay the majority of the bills. And if he needs help, ideas about how to make more money, you're helping him do that. But there's accountability around, because as women, what we have to understand and remember, no matter what our accomplishments are, Breeny, we still have an innate desire to be protected and provided for. That does not go away because of your accomplishments.
Right. But what if he can't provide?
Well, I mean, it's not my situation, so I won't say that. I'll put it like this. I think any man that is attracted to, like, let's just say a woman of your status has got to be of a certain intelligence level and capability and ambition level anyway. You're not going to be with someone who's making $25,000 a year and has no ambition for more, because that just doesn't fit you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you going to talk about? What are you? So, in other words, dreamers have to be with dreamers,
Yeah.
because if you're not, you're a dream killer, like I'm saying about my ex-husband, right? Like, you're gonna just poo-poo on my dreams, and I am not gonna stand your energy, and I'm gonna get away from you. So
Yeah.
anyone you're going to be attracted to and who's going to be attracted to you on some level is going to be a dreamer and is going to want more for their life, because they're not even going to want to be with you if you intimidate them. If you intimidate them, truly intimidate them, your lifestyle, your money, everything, they're not going to date you. They're not going to be with you. It won't even go into commitment in marriage because it won't get there. He'll find a woman that's more on his level that he can feel validated in that. Now, there are men that have no problem being with a very successful woman because the way his innate personality is set up is it feeds his ego, and he's like, feather in my cap, I got her.
Right.
And that is the heart posture and the mental posture of men who will be like with women like us, is that
yes.
Carrie's like, this is my wife, like she is bomb, she is amazing, like yeah. And so men, it's either one or the other. I think it's not in between. You can't be with the man who's not going to feel that way. It's got to be that guy that is like, yeah, I got her. That's my wife. She is absolutely amazing. But then he has his own endeavors and his own things that he has going on. So is it ever going to work for a go-getter boss chick to be with someone? The only time, as a personal example, I've ever heard of it is like Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton's the successful, Dollywood. She's got all, money, money, money coming out her ears, a ranch, and she married like a truck driver. I think this is the way the story goes. And he runs the ranch, and he is like a hardworking blue collar kind of guy. But there's an element to her lifestyle that stayed blue collar. Like she has a ranch, like he's managing and he's part of her life for all of that. I know some husbands who come in and help manage. They come into the executive side of helping your brand to go to the next level. A lot of partnerships are now modern partnerships like yourself, Breeny. I see young couples being married where he's the CFO of your brand.
Right.
He's literally taking things to the whole next level. There's lots of examples of that, where it's a partnership because he's got the managerial business savviness and skills to actually enhance it all. But a woman has to be okay with that, right? She's going to have to be down for that. There's a lot of different variables, but at the end of the day, it's a man who is partnership minded. It is what we do together, not just about individual. So there's not competition.
What if let's say I'm not partnership minded? What if I want someone that has their own, I have my own, but they have more?
I would suggest that you open up and you date other. Do not keep it strictly to men. If you're Black, do not date just Black men.
Yeah.
If you want to really open up your financial possibilities of dating someone who has as much of you as you or more, you're going to have to open up your options in order to play the numbers game, right? In order to say, how many eligible bachelors are there in the world who make this much money and who are single and who are not gay and who do love God and are not atheists? And, so, and you open your options up. This is speaking from a matchmaker, scientific perspective, right? You open that option up by saying you would marry someone Russian or, Brazilian and which is where you see a lot of African-American celebrities who have married billionaire white men. You see, Eve, Serena, you see that very commonly because in order to be on their level or greater financially, you've got to step out of racial categories where you're being really strict.
Right. What is your definition of a secure and healthy relationship? What does it look like from inception, from dating to marriage? Because I think there is a lot of negativity surrounding relationships and what it actually looks like. But if you could simplify it, what would you say a stable and secure relationship or partnership coming together from dating to marriage, what does that look like?
Two people who are willing to continually work on themselves and to work on the relationship. So in practical terms, what that looks like is people who are in therapy, getting help to navigate their baggage and their issues and to heal the issues of their heart, so that you don't punish your partner with your baggage.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like commitment to working through the life issues that come up while you are together, because new things keep happening, right? Parents die, kids are acting up, there's always going to be life issues that keep coming. And you have to be willing to approach those things with a willingness to do the work. That's the part that I think is really difficult, especially for young people. They feel like, Rebecca, I have to work in all these other areas of my life. Relationships have to be worked too. Like, it's too much. I'm tired, and this is where, for ladies, I would say you can't go into a relationship and want to have a healthy, happy relationship, but then you put all of the burden to do the emotional and spiritual heavy lifting all on you. Because that is what a lot of women tend to do. They don't hold the man accountable in the relationship to work on himself and his issues. You're trying to heal it all. You're trying to fix it all. You're trying to do it for him. Early on, when you are dating and you find that this is moving towards commitment or seriousness, you need to be already getting therapy yourself. This is how you can hold the standard clear from the beginning.
Yeah.
Getting therapy, reading books, working on yourself, the spiritual, emotional, and mental aspects, be working on that for yourself. Then hold that as a standard for any man who wants to be in your life. So that way he has to start doing that work and getting on the same page. And then that in and of itself helps to contribute. It's two healthy people that make a happy, healthy relationship. Whoever has the most issues is where most of the attention goes. If you notice that in relationships, it's like the most traumatized, person with the most struggles. That's where all the intention and energy goes in the relationship.
Yeah.
So if you want it to be a fair and equitable relationship, both people need to be working on their issues and not holding the other person responsible and accountable for the stuff that they brought into the relationship. Because truth is everybody's hurting and in different ways before they ever even met you. In relationships, we tend to then, after the initial bliss and euphoria wears off of a new relationship, we're then pointing at each other. You did this, you did that, you hurt me, you said this, you didn't understand, you didn't listen, you weren't sympathetic, you weren't. So we're pointing, but really it's just all the old pain coming back around after that initial euphoria and honeymoon that was already there to begin with.
Right.
So secure, happy, healthy relationships are two people who are committed to working on themselves to be the best that they can be. And then your partner is getting the benefits of that healthy person.
What should a woman look for in a future husband? What are let's say top 5 qualities that should be present from the jump?
Top five.
Yeah.
I would say my top 5 qualities would be work ethic, commitment to do hard things, somebody who's not a runner, maturity, mental, spiritual, and emotional maturity. Someone who knows who he is and knows where he wants to go, at least in some form or fashion. He has direction. Men with direction tend to be better partners. Men with purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose.
Why is that?
Men with purpose and who have goals are less likely to be distracted, less likely to find themselves cheating or, in other words, men who without focus wake up and then find things to occupy their time with. And that's dangerous.
Yes.
So men who have focus and wake up knowing what they want to do today and they're chasing that goal and going after that, those are some of the happiest men on earth. You want a happy man. Someone, I already said emotional, mental, and spiritual maturity, but then I would say the willingness to work on their pain, the issues that are undermining them being able to be the best man that they could be.
Yeah.
That is, I need to be able to see proof of that willingness to work on self, which is really about emotional awareness. And only about 10 to 15% of the population falls into that category, Breeny. And I need you to be in that 10 to 15% of that of the population, if you want to be.
100%.
So like 85 to 90% of people don't know why they do what they do, and they don't even have any sense of inner reflection to understand why they think the way they do what they do, why they feel the way they feel. That is just a lot of unknown for me, and I don't like that at all. I need you to be getting in touch with your whys, your core beliefs and values, and what makes you
Yeah.
tick. I need you to ask yourself some harder questions.
Yeah.
Honesty,
It,
dishonesty.
integrity.
Yeah, integrity, honesty, um, old school character values, like don't settle down unless you're ready.
Mm,
Don't overcommit if you're not ready. I think that these are the things that need to be vetted and they need to be tested before you actually allow a man to even think about putting a ring on your finger. I think that there needs to be premarital counseling, and I think there needs to even be couples counseling, even in the dating phase, pre-engagement
yes.
counseling. Before
Yeah.
you even allow yourself to say, I'm engaged, I'm going to marry this person. Because once you almost get to that point, it's like almost no turning back because you're emotionally committed. I had a therapist I had for years. She's been a therapist for over 30 years. And in her time as a therapist, Breeny, she told me that if she could tell women the stories, the horror stories of all the wives she's listened to sitting on her couch to reveal all of the secrets and the heartbreak that comes out after a woman has said, I do, the extent that men will lie in order to keep the facade and the mask in place. You have to really checks and balances, due diligence before you commit your life to a man, because it is your life. It's your heartbreak is detrimental to your forward movement and momentum in life. When you get tripped up over a man and your heart is hurting and your mind is struggling, you can't focus, you can't execute, you can't accomplish anything. It is valuable. Your time and your energy is valuable. You cannot afford to just be giving that to anybody.
Do you agree that women need to slow down in the dating process in order to be able to see those things? Because people are like, well, how? I didn't know. I didn't see it. It's like, did you give it enough time? Was you intentional about finding out, looking for some of the things? Because I find that a lot of women get drunk in love in the dating period and their eyes get clouded and all they see is roses and, unicorns and butterflies. But the real stuff doesn't come out until, I would say, plus 6 months.
And women also tend to have selective hearing. We don't hear what they're saying. That he could be telling you, I'm not ready. I'm not over my ex. I'm still hurting. I'm not fully committed yet. He could be literally saying these things. And the woman is just like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're great. This is it. We're doing this. Like her mind, she's already made up her mind about these things. And women are not always the best listeners. And so it's not always like men are misleading, ladies. A lot of the time we just don't listen.
Not listening,
Another thing is to understand that a lot of the time, until a man kind of really has his stuff together and he's stable, he's not ready to commit. He's not ready to be in a relationship. An innate part of a man's nature is to be a provider and a protector. And if he can't do that or confidently feel like he can do that, he doesn't want to be with you. He doesn't want to be with anyone right now.
And that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of women, because they feel like, well, I can help you. I can help you. And it's like, no, once a man says, I'm not ready, he's not ready. That's it. There's no convincing you can do. But the thing is, I think that some men will say, I'm not ready, but they still want the benefits of you, so that you guys will still be going out on dates. You guys will still be spending time together. And I think
still be kissing, still all the emotional lovey-dovey support and all that stuff. And but you have to take that away as a woman. If you know he's not ready, you can't be affording to get into those entanglements. Those are how situationships get started.
Yes, because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. And so the other thing, ladies, is that a man has to stand on his own 2 feet. No matter what you've got going on, a man has to stand on his own 2 feet. My marriage counselor, my couples counselor for my husband and I, he is a man who's like in his 60s. He's been married for 30 years, a Black man, and he's like my Bible for men. Like, and he told me, he's told me things, over the years that have really stuck with me. And it's one of the things he said is that no is men have to stand on their own 2 feet. That is what makes a man a man.
Yeah.
Even when you're raising boys, they've got to be standing on their own 2 feet. You can't coddle them. You can't help too much. You can't be an enabler, can't be a rescuer. And I've had to really heal a lot of those codependent type of things in me because I overhelp. And helping becomes hindering
and
when
killing.
you do too much.
Yeah.
It cripples ability, it cripples ambition, it cripples potential when you help too much. You got to let people do what they need to do in order to be their best. And that is especially true for men.
That is like
bullseye
to me with what I've recently like experienced. And I think with women, because we are created to be helpmeets, like a lot of it is already in us to give and to give and to help and to help and to push and to push. And it's like you said, like too much of that will hinder them. I almost see it, as you were speaking, as like a butterfly, like trying to cut open the caterpillar and
the cocoon. They won't develop. It's like part of struggling to get out of the cocoon is what develops the butterfly's wings. If you cut them out, they can't fly. Exactly. It's science says. So and the other thing is that I think that one of the things we didn't touch on in this interview is that it's one of the reasons younger women go so well with older men. There is a dynamic when a woman who's 30 dates a man 35 to 40, that she's going to find more of what she needs in a man, in a more mature man, more mature than her, because he has had more time to accomplish and become solid and stable and secured to give her the provision and protection that she needs to feel as a woman in a relationship. So for the ladies who feel like, Rebecca, I'm 30 and I'm not married yet. Well, you're probably going to marry somebody 40. So stop worrying about that. Like, still, you got time. You're still young to the 40-year-old. You know what I mean? Like when you're 35, you're young to the 45-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, don't think you're always going to be with someone your same age. It's like women mature very fast and men not so much. I have all sons and I watch them and I'm like, I look at my sons like, I don't know who I ever think about being with you right now. Like, please, young ladies, protect yourself. He's not ready. But you could definitely date more mature and you will find more of what you're looking for, because men are more likely to be ready to settle down. They're more stable. All of that can happen in more of an age discrepancy, more in that 7 to 12 year range. More of what you need.
I definitely agree, but let's make no mistake, there are some men that are older that are still immature, that can't stand on their own 2 feet. And I have experienced that. You think, okay, I'm dating older. Yes, okay. But why am I wiser than you?
Yeah. You still have to vet. You still have to vet it out. You still have to get to know them. There's no shortcuts for having to take the time to get to know people. I have no matchmaker shortcuts for that, Breeny. Like, you've got to take each individual person, not make any assumptions. Don't try to apply your past onto this new person. You have to get to know them as an individual, as a person, and see who they are, and then make your determinations.
Absolutely. So let's say I've met the person, but my own fears, like I'm scared, I'm not sure. What's the difference between fear and intuition? Because you don't want to make another mistake, which I'm sure you had that. I don't want to make another mistake. But a lot of us, we have that. And I'll speak for myself. I do not want to marry wrong. Like, I do not want to marry wrong. And it just makes me like I can't get this wrong, because I know as well, like you said, with heartbreak, it will derail everything that you're doing. And I know that my purpose is so strong that I feel like the enemy has tried a lot to try and derail me with relationships, with yoking me up with the wrong person and delaying certain things. So I have this thing where I'm like, yeah, I meet someone, yeah, you're good, but I'm not sure. Is it intuition, or is it just fear?
Right. So here's how you know the difference between intuition, because when you say intuition, you're really saying Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit and fear have two totally different feelings. Right. So the key when you have a decision to make or you're not sure about something is to get into stillness and prayer. Before you make the decision, you are going to put it before God and say, show me.
Mm.
And it is out of that when you get the feeling, if you still have anxiety, fear feels like anxiety, confusion, conflict, right? It feels like you're not at ease. There's no peace.
Yeah.
When you petition God and you go into stillness and prayer and you get still and you get quiet and you feel peace and it feels like love and it feels like flow, that's Holy Spirit, right?
Mm.
So if your intuition in stillness says no, right? Or you say, God, show me, now expect God to show you. And he is faithful. He will show up to show you this ain't it. It wasn't just fear. It was solid intel, solid Holy Spirit intel that was saying, no, mama, this ain't it. Protect yourself, run.
Right.
And so it's all about Holy Spirit and giving, go to God with everything. Whatever your faith system is, say, show me. I want to see. I want to see more than anything. And God is faithful to always reveal exactly everything you need to see in order to make the best decisions for your life.
That's a
so
great.
The man for you, Breeny, when you go and you petition God, it's going to be nothing but love and peace. All that fear will clear out when you get still and you pray. And God will then back it up with evidence and proof, and he'll do things to show you that he's amazing and is real and he's great for you. He'll come in the door with flowers and a card for you, or say something that was exactly what you were just talking to God about, and it'll come out of his mouth to confirm for you that it's right, and it's from God, that he's from God for you.
Yeah. Okay, so quickly, I want to just talk about what we've been talking about is becoming a wife, but I want to kind of specifically hone into some of the qualities that we can develop in ourselves in order to become a wife, because I think as much as we are talking about like what to look for in a husband, and I think a lot of time we spend so much time thinking about finding a husband that we're not thinking about becoming a wife.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of wives, I hear one of their regrets, they say when they were single, was not preparing to be a wife before the marriage. And so just gonna do a few questions, but just a few questions. And the first one is, to shoot or not to shoot? Who pursues who, and why, and what is the role of a woman in that dating stage? Because I'll preface it, because I think there's a lot of conflicting arguments especially on social media. Some men are saying women should shoot their shot, position themselves. Other men are saying don't shoot your shot, that's being masculine. Others are saying don't shoot your shot, but position yourself to be found. What is your take on it?
So there are a million different types of personalities. There is no cookie cutter advice out here in this world that's going to fit you as an individual. So for instance, Breeny, if you are like a confident, sassy, go-getter chick who you don't sit back and wait for anything or anybody to ever just come to you, right? And there's some gentleman you've been interested in and he hasn't taken the little winks and the eye contact, and he hasn't picked up any of the signs that you're interested and open for him to talk to you, you're going to shoot him a quick message and say, hey, I don't know if you realize this or not, but I've been kind of waiting for you to ask me out. Here's my number. And then you're going to see what he's going to do. But then you have to have the sophistication and ability to fall back and let him lead from there. If that was all the opening he needs, he's now going to jump in, seize the opportunity, and start being the one to initiate. Okay. But you have to have the sophistication to fall back, not keep leading and keep initiating, right? That's why I don't advise most women to shoot anything, because they lack the ability to be able to then discern whether or not that man is truly into her, or if he's just trying to pick up what he feels she's putting down, if you get what I mean, right? Like, oh, I'm going to exercise the benefits because this is very flattering and it feels like this might be easy, and you might just and women don't know how to navigate the nuance of sophisticated interaction and just fall back. So I don't suggest it for most women at all. You could consider me on the first date kissing my husband, or he wasn't my husband, but our first date, him as shooting my shot. Like that, consider shooting your shot, right? Like, I went for it. You're going to know that I really like you because I really want you to know that I like you. Now, if he hadn't been exhibiting behavior that was so consistent in that first week before we, Tuesday to Friday, we talked every day on the phone for hours on the phone. Our conversations were amazing. It was incredible chemistry on the phone. In person, our chemistry was amazing. We could barely keep our hands off each other on our first date. It was like the little taps and all that little touching you do, and you're really into each other. So yeah, would I have kissed him if I wasn't feeling that energy and confirming that exchange of energy? No, I wouldn't have.
So it's almost like as much as a woman may shoot her shot, there has to be the man showing some level of interest. And I think some women, when they do the shoot and the shot goes wrong, is like there's no indication from him that he ever likes you. He hasn't even seen you, kind of thing. So I think if you try and dry score like that, I think that is really bad. But maybe a little nudge. I don't know. I think I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I feel like, me personally, I don't have the heart to shoot my shot.
Okay. So I don't suggest you do it, because at the end of the day, if I said, I'm an expert at this stuff, right? Like, expert. When I was doing online dating, I would not hesitate when, there's been this exchange on the online dating app and you kind of been sending these messages, and then he hasn't asked for your number and he hasn't done anything, like, shit or get off the pot, right? Like, what are you going to do here? We're not meant to just be sitting on this app the whole time. And I send a message and say, hey, I'm not on here very often. Here's my number if you're interested. If not, have a great life. And literally, I don't care, because you're either going to use the number or you're not. And if you're really interested, you are. But if you're not, you're not. And I don't care. But that's not your average woman, right? That takes a level of confidence where you really are like living your best life. Like, whatever, if you like it, cool. All right. And so I would say, I don't suggest that your average woman by any stretch should be out here approaching men, because at the end of the day, now, okay, we've already made it easier than ever for men to approach us, because there's all this virtual stuff. Guys, go back and remember, before technology, a man had to walk up to you
and your friends
on the street, in the club, wherever it was, grocery store. He's going to have to literally risk complete and utter rejection to walk up to you in person, or wait to meet a woman through some connections, through friends or work or whatever. There was none. Right now, all we got to do on these apps is he has to just slide into your inbox, say, hey, beautiful, couldn't help but notice you. You seem like, I just noticed your new project you launched. You look so amazing. Just give a compliment and be nice. It's never been easier than ever in history for a man to shoot his shot. If he wants to shoot his shot, he's going to do it. What goes back to what I said. If he's not pursuing you, you're not his it girl. You don't do it for him. Do you really want to pursue these lukewarm dudes who really aren't even into you anyway? They would have noticed you if they were really, really into you. You know what I mean? Like 9 times out of 10. You hear that occasional story where a woman shooted her shot and they ended up married. And that's what makes women second guess all of this.
Right.
That was a highly confident woman like me who did that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it was a highly confident, attractive woman who knows her worth, could practically have almost any man that she would shoot her shot at. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he's an average guy,
Yeah.
she's got the confidence and the wherewithal to follow through and carry that all the way through. That's not your average woman.
Yeah, it's not for the weak.
It is not. It is not for the, you've got to be pretty man savvy. You've got to be pretty dating savvy to do that and effectively turn the tables immediately.
Yes.
And let him pursue you.
Yes. And still be feminine.
And still be feminine.
Yeah.
Because you tap into masculine energy when you're the one. I think I saw a R.C. Blake's video and the title said, like, never
pursue
chase a man, never pursue a man. I'm gonna agree with R.C. Blake's. We're old school on this.
Yeah.
I did not have to pursue my husband, right? I did not have to. He was even intimidated. He admitted out of his own mouth that he thought I was out of his league from the moment he first saw me, and he still inboxed. He still asked to call me.
Exactly.
He still did it. So, guys,
no excuses. And like you said, it's easier than ever. Like, as you were saying that, I was like hardcore, absolutely never, ever, ever going to shoot my shot, because like you said, it's easier than ever. But one click, one sentence, because I find that men don't even want to write a sentence. I'll go into my DMs, hi, hello. And it's just the most frustrating thing ever. And I'm like, you can't be serious. You can't be serious. So It's like, yeah, no, if somebody was intentional about shooting their shot, they've seen you, they've studied you, they like you, they'll do it. But most men are not. So there's no point. Because if you start
a real estate agent, she's in a relationship right now, and he shooted his shot, or he messaged her, his shot, inboxed her like on Instagram. He watched her forever. He told her later on that he'd been following her and watching her and like crushing on her, you know, like really being crazy about her for a long time. And then he pretended like he wanted to buy a house, and he was like, you know, like trying to have all these conversations with her, and he finally asked her out, and now they're in a relationship and they're like really happy. But yeah, men, even the shyest of men are going to go after what they want. I mean, and if they don't, they just don't want you bad enough.
That's it. Thank you very much. What is the one thing that a woman should never, ever do? Like in your book, like never, ever do this.
Don't pay on a first date.
Mm-hmm.
Let a man be a man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to give a man purpose. Like, there's a lot of things for me as a woman I just don't do. I don't touch trash. I don't scrub toilets. I guess there's just this part of me that's kind of like old school. Like, I'm a girly girl. Like,
in marriage or in dating?
Both.
Okay.
Like, when I met my husband, he would come over to my condo. I literally, even though I probably I took the trash out yesterday, but when he walks through the door, I act like I can't touch the trash.
Right.
Like, I'm going to compartmentalize when there is a man around. Yes, we are independent as single women, but when there's a man around, you're not supposed to do those things. You don't have to do those things. Why would I wash my car or put gas in my car if there's a man around? Like, I have to go get dirty and do that? No, that's man stuff. You go get dirty, right? Like, and my dad was like that. My dad treated my mom like that. My uncles that I'm saying about from Ohio, they treated their wives like that. Like, I just have, you know, expectations of what a man is supposed to do to take care of his woman. And when I'm around a man, I'm just going to act like, you know, yeah, we can get into really independent habits when we're single, but guys, I mean, who wants to be married or be in a relationship just to still act like you have to do everything yourself?
No.
That's not logical to me.
No.
Like, I don't want to do all this stuff myself. One of the things I vetted my husband for when we were dating is if he was good with money, because I'm really great at making money and I had to learn to be better at managing money, but he's really good with money. And I was like, great, because I don't want to pay these bills. You can be the, you know, responsible over all of our due diligence and counts and balances, you know, making sure everything gets done. I was like, win-win.
Yeah.
And so you have to know yourself, and you have to also know what makes you happy. Like, it makes me happy to not scrub toilets or take out the trash.
And should you have to ask a man to do those things?
I think, they're not mind readers, and you have to, and especially nowadays, because there is not solid gender roles anymore, right? So you have to understand, ladies, that he could have dated 3 women before you who were super independent, wouldn't even let him open a door for them, and got her flowers. And she's like, why are you getting me flowers? So you have to understand that any man you meet, he's experienced lots of different things prior to you. You have to let him know what you like. You have to let him know what makes you happy. You have to let him know, how to make you happy. Oh, I really love, you're just throwing this into conversations, I really love flowers. Oh, I really just can't stand touching the trash.
Right.
Right. Like, you have to just put it out there, and they're going to pick up what you're putting down and be like, oh, she likes this and she doesn't like that. And any man who wants to be with you, I mean, I don't think I ever had to mention anything twice around Carrie. He's like immediately like, oh, let me get on that. Let me do this for you, because they want to make you happy. They want to impress you, when they're falling for you and they're really into you.
Yeah. And that's the difference. If they're into you, they will, because a man could hear you say, oh, I really love flowers. And he's like, why do I care?
Why did you just say that? That's random.
Random, yeah.
Right. But once again, back to understanding, ladies, do not take it personal when these average Joes don't want you and don't like you. Most men are not going to like you like that. They just want to have sex with you. That's all they want to do. And then you're going to have that few number of men who see you as a wife and as the woman they are, not even as a wife, they're just willing to do it because they want you.
They want you. That's it.
That's what makes you a wife in their mind, is because you require it. They just want you, period.
Right.
Their bed, they want you in their kitchen, they want you in their car, they want you everywhere that they are at, that they're crazy about you and want to be looking at you. And so they're willing to do whatever it takes to have you around.
What are some of the qualities, you being a wife, that you can impart to women that are wanting to become wives, that you've seen that really benefit your marriage?
Something I think that I've discovered that is not common is tough love. It's not something your wives talk about, and I don't even know that a lot of wives do it, which is why there's so many miserable wives. Because I think that one of the things we don't understand as women is that sometimes a man needs a swift kick in the butt.
Yeah.
And you have to be that push behind them that is saying, get off your ass, get it together. You are better than this. I believe in you. You can do this. Now go. Like, you as a wife, you've got to do that sometimes for men. That's why they say, behind every great man, there's a great woman, right? Because, and my example of that I always come to mind is like Michelle and Barack, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's got this personality where, behind the scenes, would Barack Obama have been the president of the United States if Michelle was not his wife? And I'm going to say no, hands down, that woman backed that man up, supported him, believed in him, pushed him, guided him, encouraged him, like, to fulfill his greatest potential. And that's part of what being a really great wife is. It is not just like, well, baby, have you considered? Well, I think you could, and I think you should, and I think sometimes it's like, look, I'm sick of talking to you nice. You are not listening. How many times you gonna hit your head on that wall? Like, look, you are amazing. You have to, believe in yourself to do this, or you got to do that, or just support and push. Like, there's a push that sometimes men need, especially if they're kind of going through a low place, because men go through low places just like women. And I think that that's one of the things that single women don't really understand about being a great wife. The difference between a good wife and a great wife is believing in him even when he doesn't believe in himself.
And giving him that tough love that, I guess you were saying that some wives don't do it because why? Because they feel like they're going to push him away, or
because tradition says, oh, you're just supposed to cater to his needs and stroke his ego, and you're not supposed to challenge, and you're not supposed to push too hard, and you're supposed to make him feel like the king and the man. And so a lot of women just fall into this very passive aggressive role. and waiting and wanting things to be better and to change and know that it could be better, but they don't say anything. And there's frustration and resentment that gets built into all of that. And so I think that a lot of the time, you know, wives do not ask for what they want, and they don't know how to require it without leaving. Like women get divorced a lot without even having required what they really want. They beat around the bush, they'll suggest it, they beg for it, but they don't lay down any really clear understanding of, look, if you don't do this, our marriage is probably going to be on the rocks. Like, I don't even know how much longer it's going to last. If you don't change what you're doing, like right now, I'm telling you right now, I'm reaching the end of my rope and I'm losing hope for this and I'm falling out of love with you. What?
Wow.
Wives don't say that, but yet they will then proceed to give up on the man and the marriage and be filing for divorce without ever even having said that.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Because we feel like that's an ultimatum, or we feel we have not been taught that level of direct communication, because we've been taught to deal with men like little soft, oh, well, you know, have you thought about, would you consider, well, maybe, you know, if you, no, you talk to that man like he's your best friend. Just like a best friend, when you know your best friend is playing small or mediocre or operating in fear, and when we talk to our friends, we still talk to them with love.
Yeah.
We're like, girl, now you know you can't be settling for this in your life. This is raggedy. This is not God's best for you. Get up off your ass and let's get it together. You know, that's how I talk to my friends, you know, like, and I think that when it comes to men, we have to, Carrie and I have implemented something in our marriage that's really helpful. When we need to say really hard things, we will say, I need to talk to my friend. And when we know when either one of us says that, we're about to have a hard conversation, but we have to take off like the wife hat or the husband hat, where we're about to be in our feelings and get upset and be offended. Oh, I can't believe you're talking to me like that. You know, like a man will do that in a heartbeat. Like, you're disrespecting me. It's like, no, I need to talk to my friend. Take your ego and set it to the side. Like, I need to give you some feedback on, you know, how I feel. Yeah. And that's worked really well in our marriage. We've been talking for 2.5 hours. Really, when you said it was going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I was like, wow, we're going to talk a lot. Now it's 2.5 hours and time has blown by.
I know. I appreciate your time so much, but I think it's going to be such a valuable conversation. Thank you so much.
I haven't been interviewed by a woman.
Really?
The men all interview me, like the relationship platforms and stuff interview me, but I've never been interviewed by a woman.
I've never interviewed a woman either. That's why I was a bit nervous, like when I was coming on here.
And it's good because you're asking different questions from a female perspective that male interviewers or hosts wouldn't even think to ask.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So what should a woman do while she's waiting?
Oh, she should work on her interpersonal skills. She should work on her listening skills. She should treat dating like practice. So as you're learn to ask questions, learn to ask important questions. Don't like just chit chat on these dates with men. I want to know the issues of your heart. I want to know your goals. I want to know your mindset. I want to know everything. Like that, like be curious when you're dating, like ask a lot of questions, learn to listen with your heart, not just your head. Listen to what they're saying and what they're not saying, and listen to what they're conveying in spirit and in feeling, not just their words, because men oftentimes don't know really how to express all of their feelings. But if you pay attention to your discernment and Holy Spirit when you're listening, you can feel what's going on better than you can with the words he's giving you. So interpersonal skills, communication skills, work on being your best physically. I mean, your absolute best physically, whatever that is. It's not a size. I call it bait weight. I have a bait weight, right? Whatever is the best for you. If that's a 0 or a 20, I don't care, but just be the best you that you can be and embrace it, rock it, love your body, self-care, because number one for men is physical. So if you're his type, you want to be his type.
Yeah.
right? Like if he loves a big boom boom, then you need to be working on the boom boom, right? You already got some back there, but go ahead and tighten it up a little bit, right? Like get in the gym, work on, whatever. If you're a curvy girl, a man who loves curves is going to love you.
Mm.
Enhance those curves, dress for those curves, like
Yeah.
just be the best you that you can be. Follow your purpose, know whatever makes you feel, whatever you're passionate about and is most fulfilling for you, do more of that. That makes you happy, and happy girls are the prettiest.
Yes.
Pursue your passions, travel. Ladies, when you get married, there's a lot of compromise, there's a lot of sacrifice involved. I just sent my last son off to college last year and became an empty nester for the first time. I've got like 3 trips booked with girlfriends. Like
Yeah.
I've got like, because when you're raising kids and you're a wife and you're running businesses, or you're it's just a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
on our plate. We're busy. It's demanding. Enjoy your single season, because all of that time to focus on yourself is really hard when you are in a long-term committed relationship or you're married. It becomes very difficult to give all of the self-love and self-care that you get to do when you're single.
Yeah. What do you think about women having to perform to be with a man or to get a man, cooking, cleaning, having sex, looking perfect? I think there's a loudness I'm hearing on social media with them, with women thinking that they have to do these things. And even women in relationships, they're almost also pushing that, yeah, make sure you look good, make sure you cook and make sure you do all the stuff. And it's like, okay, it's also part of that self, like women sacrificing themselves for a man. And it's like, at the end of that, it's even still not enough to keep him.
I would say I just did a video about this because I recently took out all my extensions. I just got vacation here because I'm leaving tomorrow, but I took out my extensions and took off my lash extensions, and I like wore my natural curly hair for like this past month, and I got more attention from men than ever.
I watched
Just
that video. Actually watched that
natural.
video, yeah.
And it was like, what the whole hell is going on? Like, I'm a married woman, guys, so I'm like not pressed about it, but you
Yeah.
do pay attention when all of a sudden men are like, oh my God,
Right.
like, who are you? You're so attractive. You're so pretty. Oh my God, you're married. I want a wife like you. Oh my God. Like, I'm just sitting there like, what is going on?
Right.
So I think some of our beauty standards and the pressure we put on ourselves is coming from women. It's
Yeah.
not men doing that. Unless you're going to be marrying a rapper or some man with all of this fetish type expectations of your looks and stuff, a little bit more natural, not overdone, is the
Yeah.
way as a woman to not put so much pressure on yourself. I'm not saying don't enjoy your girly makeup and your extensions and whatever. I'm just saying to feel like you always have to be slayed,
Yeah.
like the whole 9, wake up in the morning with makeup on. It's like a man that's going to love you and want to have babies with you. He knows what you look like without your wig. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He knows what you look like naturally, and he needs to love that pure natural essence of you as a woman, or else that's not love. And
Mm.
so the more you can embrace yourself, the better. Like sometimes give your hair a break, go ahead and rock natural, or put in some braids, or do something that's just a little bit less overdone, and let men see you like that too, so then they know what you look like without all the
Yeah.
enhancements,
All the extras.
all the extra.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's women that put pressure on women for that stuff. It's not men, because I in my experience is when you look more natural that men are absolutely even more
Oh,
committed,
100%. 100%.
you
I don't get approached when I'm glam at all.
No,
I
that's
get
why I'm
approached
telling
when
you,
I'm
like,
natural. Yeah.
I've hardly ever been natural my whole adult life, guys. I've been rocking extensions and being a whole diva like my whole adult life. And like I said, a few weeks ago when I just started wearing my natural hair and was looking like just more not glam,
Yeah.
these people just hitting on me like crazy. And that had never happened to me. Men never approached me, but I
Yeah.
was always glam.
Diva, like you
Always.
said. Yeah.
Diva.
Diva mode.
So yeah, I think that let some of that go. If that's just who you are naturally, cool. And you plan to wake up with a lace front on, even when you're playing, cool. But if not, like let some of those standards go, because it's just killing us. It's too much.
There was this TikTok that of this woman. She had um trying to get my man to propose to me in 90 days by cooking every single day. So every TikTok day 20, day 25, day 26, and she was making all of these dishes.
That's just
And
much.
and it's like, that's what I mean, that too much, that a lot of women, because men are not committing and they're thinking, okay, what can I do to make him commit? And it's like, maybe it's not
Leave
what you're
him.
doing.
Leave him.
Yeah.
That's what you do. I'm out of here unless you put a ring on my finger. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna sit around and let you put all these miles on my vagina and kill myself trying to cook for you and clean up after you and do all this acting like I'm a wife, and I'm not a wife. I did not cook for my husband. We met in August. I did not cook. The first time he tasted my cooking was November. We met in August. Within 30 to 45 days, we were moving into exclusivity of just dating each other. But it was months went by before I ever even cooked. And that was Thanksgiving. He happened to come
Right.
by on Thanksgiving and I had cooked. And he actually thought that I had bought the food and put it on the plate. And I was trying to, trick him because he could not believe I could cook so good. Because in
Wow.
his mind, if you could cook, you would have already cooked for me. Like he told me that. He was like, I don't even think pretty girls can cook. Like, I don't even really. And I'm like, no, I just know that in the dating process, if you start cooking too soon and all of that, you stop dating. Because
Yep.
you're in the house, Netflix and chilling, and he just wants you to cook all the time. And I want to go out. I want to have fun. I want to do stuff. I don't want to be all laid up, sitting up in the house all the
Yeah.
time. And then quickly sex comes in with
Yep.
that. Next thing you know, you're not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't believe in it, impressing a man at all. Be yourself and do not give wifely benefits to a man who has not put a ring on your finger. And any man that you start dating seriously should know. I told my husband in our very first conversation, Breeny, I said, and I wasn't, I feel like you can almost say anything in, like, literally, you can almost say anything. It's how you say it that
Yeah.
whether you can get away with it or not. I said to him, well, I'm just going to let you know this. Like, I'm at a point in my life where I don't need any more friends. I am looking for my life partner and my purpose partner. So if I know you just got divorced a couple years ago, whatever, but if you're at a place where you're just trying to have fun and you just kind of kick it, that's cool. But I'm just letting you know right now that that's not me, and that's not where I'm at in life. And he was quiet for like a couple seconds and he said, good, because I hate dating anyway. And I was like, well, great. And like we were married 16 months later, but I did not use the word marriage. But I definitely put my intentions out there. Like, I'm not trying to just kick it. And he later told me that conversation set the tone for our dating. He told me he knew he only had about 1 year to date me, that I was going to be expecting to get engaged, that I wasn't going to stick around if he wasn't ready to put a ring on my finger in about a year.
What, and how much into you guys meeting did you have that conversation?
That was my first conversation with him on the phone.
Oh,
That Tuesday, before we went on our first date on Friday.
right.
I just, once again, does everyone have the savviness to navigate, to say something like that without it coming off as an ultimatum or toxic or demanding? Because I said it just like I'm talking to you, Breeny. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
by the way, just letting you know where I'm at in life. I've dated for a while, and I really am wanting to meet the man that God has for me, and I'm looking for my life partner and purpose partner. So, I'm just letting you know. And I said, and I know I'm not saying you're him. I'm not
Yeah.
saying we
Yeah.
just like each other, but I'm just letting you know where I'm at in the phase of life that I'm in. And he was
And
like,
that was you setting a standard, basically.
right from the beginning, to
Yeah.
say, I'm not about to be sitting up here dating you for years, screwing, and this is not leading towards marriage and commitment. I want to build a legacy with someone. I'd been, not married for 9 years, and it was like I was finally at a point in my life where I was like, I want a partner. This isn't fun anymore. I don't
No.
want it anymore. I want to be with one person, and I want to build a life with someone.
Yeah.
I let those intentions be known.
You have to. How long does healing take?
Healing is forever.
I'm like, how long does it take to heal, Rebecca?
As soon as God guides you through one level of healing, through one thing, you start, go in, pray, meditate, get triggered by something else. Now God's revealing to you another area of your life that needs to be healed. Healing is ongoing. It never ends. Just like personal development, you're always getting better. Think of healing as personal development. You're always getting better and better and better and better in mindset, heart, spirit, energy, thinking, just all of it. It's always, always elevating. So we're always healing, and just think of it as always just next level, next level, next level. We're never there.
Yeah.
Right. I teach this stuff. I'm a healing guru, but I'm always evolving as a woman, as a person. I'm never like, oh, I've arrived. I've got it all figured out. I'm good. No, every day, every week, every month, God shows me something about myself that I have to work on. And I'm like, dang, I gotta really work on that area a little more. I'm not so good.
Okay, last question is, what's the truth about marriage that married people don't want us to know? Because I feel like in an effort for us to glamorize or to make marriage desirable again after losing its favor, I think we've gone so far to making it seem like marriage is perfect. And I was watching a podcast by Kev on Stage and his wife, and where he interviews married couples. And the first question he asked every couple was, what is a misconception people believe about your marriage? And they all of them have said that it's perfect. So what's the truth that married people don't want single people to know? Because I do feel like married people make it seem like we're part of this elite club. Okay, we made it. Y'all need to get it together.
Like us, right? Get on my level.
Get on my level, yeah.
Misconceptions and truths. Second year I was married to Carrie, I left him. I went to Belize for a month. I didn't come. We hit a wall. We hit some things where some truths about prior to getting married were hard and ugly. Secrets that had not been shared. I'm a very loyalty-based core belief person. And I can be a very hot-headed person.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned through therapy that it is better for me to walk away and take space and time than it is to stick around and lose my shit because I will act crazy. So I tend to be kind of like, let me go and process. It was bad enough that I went away for a month.
A month.
I did not know whether we would stay married.
After the month being married.
No, we were married for 2 years.
Oh, 2 years. Okay.
Married for 2 years. Some stuff got revealed. I left. That's the first time I've told anybody that publicly. Wow. Marriage can be very hard. It is not the fairy tale and the forever after, happily ever after that women have created in their minds. You're dealing, and the older we get, the more baggage we have, right? So it's not like when we're 18 and everybody's on the same level playing field. We're all broke, we're all young and dumb. It's like, no, you're 25, you're 35, you're 45. You've gone through life issues and ups and downs and disappointments. And a lot of the time, wives don't tell what they've been through with husbands because to do so would make the husband look bad. Done things that have not been honest, that have not been faithful, that have been stupid. And so you don't say anything because you don't want you haven't left him, you're still with him. So you know what you want to do, make him look like a fool, and you're still with him, right? And so you can't throw him under the bus because loyalty says don't dog him out like that. So it's not like married people intentionally try to make it look perfect. It's just that publicly you can't, like for me, I stayed. He's my best friend. I can't talk about all that publicly because to do so is like throwing my best friend under the bus with all his secrets. Right? Like you can't do that. So married couples hold each other's secrets. They don't talk publicly about what can really be going on. Now, My case scenario, I'm married to a great guy, and it was some really dumb stuff that was like, this has got to change, or I'm not, and I left because, when I came back with my new requirements for how we move forward. What am I going to need in this relationship moving forward for this to work? Because if you're not willing to do these things, it's over before we even get back to doing this. It's going to be over anyway. I'll just leave because it's never going to work if we don't implement a new strategy. I'm a strategist. I'm someone who's really plotting and thinking like, what does this need in order to be successful?
Yeah.
A lot of wives have not done that. They have not left.
Mm.
In my new Nice for What book, I have a chapter called The Cheating Protocol. And I believe that every woman needs to be at a place in time, and financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in her life, that she can always walk away and take a break if she needs to.
Yeah.
I really believe that, because you can confront some places in life that are so disrespectful and so damaging to your heart that if you can't take space, then guess what? You stay, you end up having sex too fast and going into this forgiveness like everything's fine, but your heart hasn't recovered, you mentally haven't recovered, and it's toxic.
Resentment.
It's not healthy.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is a process. It is not like, oh, I forgive you after you just told me something 48 hours ago that has completely destroyed me. And now I'm going to stay and get in the bed with you. And then, of course, men press up on you and try to sex you because sex makes everything perfect for men. Everything's forgiven. We're all good. Hell no. I'm out of here. Right? That's me.
Yeah.
We talking about modern women, I think you should always have money, you should always have provision, because at the end of the day, you should not have to stay in an abusive or harmful or toxic situation that is harmful to your mental health and your heart health. You have to be able to take space and do what you need to do for you. Now that's new school.
Yes.
Old school tells you never leave.
Yeah.
You never separate. You never. I don't agree with that. I think that women have been abused for years and have stuck through some of the worst things in the world, and they have lost themselves.
Yes.
Self-esteem and their mental health has suffered. And my mama didn't raise no fool. I ain't going for it. Right. Like I remember at a certain point, I told my husband, I said, I have worked my ass off to become this woman, and I'm not losing her for you or for anyone. And I meant that thing. Like, I really meant that thing. Like, so when I talk about nice for what, I really mean that. I really mean it. I've done some really difficult things that fly in the face of tradition in order to be able to have a healthy and happy marriage.
Can you talk a little bit about that nice for what and what you're creating at the moment?
Yeah, nice for what it's really geared towards coming away from passive aggressive behavior. It's asking for what you want, showing up for yourself with boldness and confidence, healing your self-esteem, and learning about boundaries. You cross my boundary, there's going to be some consequences. There's acceptable behavior and there's unacceptable behavior. And learning to create boundaries with people is one of the things that helps you to stay a loving and kind person. It is when you allow people to break your boundaries and hurt you and you don't do anything about it that we become bitter and hurt. And it changes the core of who we are as women of God and as women of faith and women who have really big hearts, because we get hurt the most because of our hearts, because we're sensitive. And so in order to allow Holy Spirit to be able to stay in charge and keep us loving and kind, we have to have really strong boundaries. And so my Nice for What masterclass is all about confidence and self-esteem and boundaries to help people who have really struggled to have a voice, struggled to stand up for themselves, find themselves getting walked over a lot and not getting what they really want in life. It's for people who need help with that.
So how can people sign up to that, and how can people get in touch with you, follow you?
Rebecca Lynn Pope on every platform. I think there's only one other Rebecca Lynn Pope in the whole wide world, but I took over all the social media handles. So if you just look up Rebecca Lynn Pope, you'll find me on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all the other whatevers. But yeah, there's a link inside of my bio on Instagram to sign up for the wait list for Nice for What. It is coming out and going to be released for enrollment in this coming week. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's been a long time coming. It's a book too, so the book will get published also, but it's also a course.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. This has been a dream come true. If I show you my list of people that I want to interview, that it was like me manifesting it. You're number one on the list.
Oh,
And
thank you, love.
and so I'm so excited for you, like for you coming on my channel and blessing us today. And I feel like a lot of people will go away with so much, whether they're married, whether they're single, because you just have to keep it real at the end of the day. And like marriage it's not easy. It's not easy. It shouldn't be romanticized, but at the same time, it is a beautiful institution, which I'm sure you can vouch for, but it's not a fairy tale like
Yeah.
everybody wants to make it seem like it is. So I think we have to have balance. We have
Yeah.
to, yeah, and we have to have truth.
I thought about it this morning. There's something that crossed my mind because I have this hashtag for my life and I call myself the rich wife life.
Mm.
And and I thought that would be a really great course in a book, Rich Wife Life, for the women who want to be able to have money and balance, but want love too. And, a
Yes.
partner to be able to have all of that balance. I was like, I was like, maybe I'll write it down as a possibility.
Yeah, another course. I'll sign up for that.
Yeah. All right, love. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you so much. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview with Rebecca Lynn Pope. Please definitely check out the links below to get in contact with her. I was blown away by a lot of the things that she had presented, and I hope you guys genuinely enjoyed this conversation. There will be plenty more where that came from. So if you're enjoying topics like this, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you in my next video. Okay, bye guys.